Chapter 836. Alex and the other two were stunned. Since when did the inheritance of the holy hexagram become so simple? And he even chose a Huaxia man? When he came to his senses, Yankovic cried, "No, it's impossible. It's impossible for a Huaxia man to be recognized by the Lord God. I can't be associated with a despicable Huaxia man." Since he had just been humiliated by Qin Haodong, he hated all the Huaxia people. Alex said, "Yankovic, what are you talking about? Have you forgotten the rules of the divine palace? No matter who he is, as long as he is recognized by the holy hexagram, he will be our red priest." Yankovic said, "That's impossible. The divine palace has existed for thousands of years and there has never been a Huaxia man. It's even more impossible for this Huaxia man to be recognized by the holy hexagram. He must have used some despicable means to create an illusion for us. I'm guessing that he must have killed Anthony and taken the holy hexagram. I'll kill him now and take it back." After that, he took out the holy cross sword on his back and stabbed at Zhang Feiyang. Zhang Feiyang reacted very quickly. He raised his hand and drew a cross in front of his chest. Then he pointed at Yankovic and a light sword condensed by the holy light shot out. The light sword collided with Yankovic's holy cross sword and made a muffled bang. Both of them took 3 steps back respectively. Yankovic was shocked. He did not expect that he could not take advantage of Zhang Feiyang at all. Alex and Balderrama were even more surprised. They did not expect that the young man in front of them had received such a high degree of inheritance. He was not inferior to Alice, the most outstanding red priest in the divine palace. When he came to his senses, Yankovic raised the holy cross sword and was ready to attack again, but he was stopped by Alex. "What are you doing? Don't you see that he has been completely recognized by the holy hexagram and is now the red priest of the divine palace? Do you want to start a civil war?" Yankovic cried, "No, I can't be associated with a Huaxia man. I'm going to kill him, take back the holy hexagram, and then find another inheritance." Alex was completely angry. "Yankovic, stop messing around, okay? According to the will of the Lord God, everyone in the world is his people, regardless of skin color or race. What right do you have to exclude a Huaxia person?" Yankovic's expression was the same, but he still said unwillingly, "But there has never been a Huaxia person in our divine palace before. The past is the past. Perhaps the Divine Lord is blaming us for not fully carrying out his will. That's why he made the holy hexagram recognize a Chinese." Alice's words were clear and logical, and the truth was right in front of them. No matter how courageous they were, they wouldn't dare to openly go against the will of the Lord God. At that moment, Balderrama said, "Let's not argue anymore. There is indeed something fishy about this matter. Let's report it to the sacred city and let the Emperor God decide." Alice said, "That's right. Only the Emperor God has the final say in this matter. Before the sacred city makes a decision, according to the rules of the divine court, he is now our companion, the red high priest of the divine court." Since things had come to this point, Yankovic could no longer object. He could only snort coldly and walk towards Duke Andre's mansion. Zhang Feiyang followed behind them, walking side by side with Alice. He was not nervous about the Emperor God's decision. Qin Haodong had already explained it to him before. It was a strange story that a Huaxia person had obtained the inheritance of the holy hexagram. This matter would soon spread out. Even the Emperor God could not publicly deny a Huaxia person. Otherwise, how could he spread the so-called equality of all living beings around the world in the future? Therefore, this matter seemed to be reported to the sacred city, but in fact, there was already an answer. Moreover, even if the divine court did not accept him, with his previous 8th level cultivation and his current holy power, no one could pose a threat to him as long as the Emperor God did not come, including the aggressive Yankovic. When the sun rose the next day, the whole city of the rising sun was restored to a thriving scene. Most of the dark creatures had hidden themselves. In the dark world, if one had not reached the level of Vampire Duke, it was impossible to walk under the sun, including some ordinary werewolves. Sunlight was fatal to them. After Qin Haodong got up, he washed up and enjoyed the breakfast that Lev had prepared for him. Then they drove to the city of the rising sun together. According to Klinsmann's explanation before his death, the alien demons were probably hiding in the empire of the rising sun. However, they only had such a rough information and did not have a specific direction to look for, so they wandered aimlessly in the city of the rising sun. Near noon, Qin Haodong's cell phone rang. He looked at it and found that it was Alice, the president of the World Medical Association. "Miss Alice, what can I do for you?" On the other side of the phone, Alice said eagerly, "Qin, can you come to the Empire of the Rising Sun? Do I need your help here?" Qin Haodong asked, "Do you need my help? Did something happen?" Alice said, "Well, the daughter of Grand Duke Andrei of the Empire of the Rising Sun is seriously ill, but we can't find the cause at all. We want you to come and help us make a diagnosis. Can you come from Huaxia as soon as possible? The patient's condition is very bad. I'm afraid it will be too late if you are late." Grand Duke Andrei's daughter? Could it be the awakened Holy Virgin? Qin Haodong immediately dispelled this idea. The awakened Holy Virgin should not be sick. A noble person like Grand Duke Andrei should have several daughters. He said, "Miss Alice, I'm glad to tell you that I'm traveling in the Rising Sun City now. Can you tell me the specific location?" "My God, you actually came to the Empire of the Rising Sun. God bless you." Alice said, "I'll send you the location of Grand Duke Andrei's mansion now." After that, she hung up the phone, and soon a location information appeared in Qin Haodong's cell phone. Qin Haodong's location was not too far from Grand Duke Andrei's mansion. Half an hour later, they arrived at the gate of a manor. When he arrived, Alice was already waiting there with an anxious look on her face. This patient brought her great pressure, not only because she was the daughter of Grand Duke Andrei, but also because she was a person highly valued by the divine court. It was said that she was about to be awakened. Under these two identities, as the president of the World Medical Association, she felt great pressure. If she couldn't cure the patient, she couldn't bear the responsibility at all. However, the patient's condition was extremely strange. She had done all the necessary examinations, but she couldn't find anything wrong with her. She was at her wit's end, so she turned to Qin Haodong for help. Seeing Qin Haodong get out of the car, Alice immediately came up to him, took his hand and said, "Qin, I've been waiting for you. If you hadn't come, I really wouldn't have been able to do anything." Qin Haodong said, "What's the patient's condition? How can you not find the cause?" Alice said, "She has a fever, is unconscious, and occasionally has convulsions. I've tried everything, but I still can't find the cause." Hearing this symptom, Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. He felt that it was somewhat similar to the zombie virus infected in Wangshan village in Yundian province. He asked, "Has the patient been to the mountains recently, or has she been in contact with bat-like creatures?" Alice shook her head and said, "I've asked. The patient has been staying at home recently and hasn't gone out." After hesitating for a moment, she said, "The patient's condition is a little special. You'll know later." "I really can't say." Then she led Qin Haodong into the door and walked into the manor together. The bodyguards at the gate of the Duke's mansion knew that they were doctors invited by the family, so they didn't stop them. Qin Haodong asked, "President Alice, how many daughters does Grand Duke Andrei have?" "Only one." Alice saw that there was no one around, so she whispered, "I heard that this is a person highly valued by the divine court. She's about to awaken some saintess. I don't know the specific situation. Anyway, you must be careful and don't get yourself into trouble." Qin Haodong was secretly amused. He didn't expect that he would meet the saintess of the divine court so soon. At the same time, a trace of doubt arose in his heart. Not to mention the saintess, even Alice, with her extremely pure physique, wouldn't get sick. Why did the awakened saintess suddenly fall ill? Could it be that something went wrong during the awakening process? They walked forward as they talked. Qin Haodong keenly found that there were many people of the divine court hiding in the Grand Duke's mansion, including knights and priests of all levels. It seemed that even during the day, the divine court didn't relax the guard here. 10 minutes later, they arrived in front of a 3-story European-style villa in the middle of the manor. The security here was more strict than in other places. At the front door of the villa, he saw 2 old acquaintances. They were the Holy Knight Yankovic and Cardinal Balderrama, who had left him the night before. At the same time, Yankovic also saw him, and his face immediately darkened. "Huaxia man, what are you doing here?" Alice said, "Mr. Yankovic, this is Dr. Qin I invited. Please let us in." "Absolutely not." Yankovic said angrily, "You can ask other doctors for help, but he can't." Alice said, "Dr. Qin is the best doctor I've ever seen. Are you making things difficult for me by doing this?" Yankovic said, "He's probably the murderer who killed High Priest Anthony. This kind of person is extremely dangerous. What if he kills the saintess?" Qin Haodong turned to Alice and said, "Miss Alice, as you can see, it's not that I don't want to help, but I can't." Alice was completely anxious. She said with a cold face, "Mr. Yankovic, Dr. Qin is the medical sage of Huaxia. How could he be a murderer? If you don't let me in, I can only say sorry about the patient's illness." Yankovic said, "I don't care that much. I just want to protect the safety of the saintess. This Huaxia man must not go in." Alice was so angry that she couldn't say anything for a moment. Just then, Alice came out of the room. After seeing Qin Haodong, she was slightly surprised and said, "Dr. Qin, why are you here?" Alice said first, "Miss Alice, I invited him to help. If there is anyone in the world who can cure the patient's illness, it can only be Dr. Qin, but Mr. Yankovic won't let us in." Alice glared at Yankovic and said to Qin Haodong, "Dr. Qin, please come with me." Yankovic still wanted to stop her, but Balderrama signaled with his eyes. Under Zhang Xian's gaze, Zhang Xian decided to bear with it. Qin Haodong followed Alice into the villa and came to a bedroom. When he saw the patient lying on the bed, his expression changed. He never thought that the saintess would be her. Chapter 837. The woman lying on the bed was Cathaway, the reporter from the Eye of the Earth he met in Yindian province. He didn't expect that she had such a hidden identity. However, at this time, Cathaway looked extremely strange. From her face down, her skin had become like jade, smooth and crystal clear. Qin Haodong could even see the hidden blood vessels under her skin. At the same time, a strong holy power enveloped her whole body, slowly changing her physique. This should be the manifestation of the awakening of the Holy Virgin. Alice said, "Dr. Qin, hurry up and have a look. The patient's condition is very strange." Qin Haodong walked to the bed and reached out to grab Cathaway's arm. A cold feeling came from his fingertips, as if he was really holding a beautiful statue made of jade. He put his fingers on her pulse, which was still beating normally. It took a long time to feel her pulse this time. As time went by, he slowly frowned. It took him a full 5 minutes to withdraw his hand. Judging from her pulse, Cathaway's symptoms were that she had been infected with the zombie virus. But the problem was that the zombie virus developed by Dr. Jin's was genetically targeted and had no threat to white people. How could she suddenly get sick? Alice said, "Dr. Qin, take a look at her body again." Then she gently pulled down the blanket covering Cathaway's body a little, revealing the upper part of her chest. Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He saw that on Cathaway's chest, from top to bottom, the Holy Maiden's awakening stopped there, and below it was a black line, which seemed to be blocking this change. The two sides were engaged in a silent battle. He scanned it with his spirit again and found that the black line was indeed the zombie virus. After thinking for a moment, he seemed to understand what was going on. Although the targeted genetic virus developed by Dr. Jin's had not been infected before, it was not that she had not been infected with these viruses, but that they had been hidden in her body. Originally, it was peaceful. If she was an ordinary person, she would not get sick for the rest of her life. Unfortunately, Cathaway was the Holy Virgin of the Divine Court. This time, the awakening of the Holy Virgin somehow stimulated the virus and it suddenly began to get sick. Alice asked nervously, Dr. Chin, how is it? Have you found the cause? Can you cure it? This morning, she had gathered all the experts of the World Medical Association for a consultation, but no one could come up with a decent treatment plan. They didn't even find the cause of the disease. Now Qin Haodong was her last hope. Qin Haodong nodded. I already know what's going on. It's not too difficult to treat. That's great. Qin, you're amazing. Cathaway was so happy that she almost jumped up. If it weren't for the fact that she was in a ward, she would have cheered loudly. Alice had been watching them. After hearing Qin Haodong's words, she said, Dr. Qin, will your treatment affect the Holy Virgin's awakening? As the saying goes, one's position determines one's thinking. As the red-robed high priest of the divine court, she cared more about Cathaway's identity as the Holy Virgin. If Qin Haodong's treatment affected Cathaway's awakening as the Holy Virgin, it would not be worth it. Qin Haodong said, her current condition is caused by the awakening of the Holy Virgin. If these viruses are not removed as soon as possible, I'm afraid the awakening will be stopped halfway, so we must hurry to treat her. Hearing this, Cathaway also said nervously, Dr. Qin, hurry up. Please. After determining the cause of the disease, the treatment became much simpler. Qin Haodong took out the remaining blood purification pill and gave it to Cathaway. After thinking for a while, he took out a cleansing pill and put it into Cathaway's mouth. As the saying goes, the medicine will cure the disease. As time passed, the black line on Cathaway's chest slowly faded and eventually disappeared. The cleansing pill also removed the last bit of impurities in her body, helping the Holy Virgin clear all the obstacles to her awakening. Half an hour later, Cathaway slowly opened her eyes. When she saw Qin Haodong in front of her, her big holy eyes flashed with surprise. Qin, am I dreaming? How did I meet you? Qin Haodong said, this is not a dream. You were sick just now, so I came to treat you. Thank you for saving me again. Thinking that Qin Haodong had saved her twice in Yindian province, Cathaway's eyes flashed with gratitude. Dr. Alice, High Priest Alex, I want to talk to Dr. Qin alone. Seeing that the Holy Virgin was safe and sound, Alex nodded and walked out of the room with Alice. Cathaway looked at Qin Haodong and said, Qin, what happened to me just now? Qin Haodong told her about the outbreak of the zombie virus and finally said, don't worry, the virus has been completely removed. You'll be fine in the future. Thank you. Cathaway thanked him again and said, are you afraid to see me like this? There's nothing to be afraid of. You're still so beautiful. Qin Haodong smiled at Cathaway and asked, aren't you a reporter for the Eye of the Earth? How did you become the daughter of Grand Duke Andrea? Now you're the Holy Virgin of the Divine Court. Can't a duke's daughter be a reporter? It was difficult for Cathaway's expression to change. A smile flashed in her eyes. In fact, when I was young, I was told by the Divine Court that I had the constitution of a Holy Virgin and that it would awaken after the age of 20. It was my lifelong dream to be a reporter, so before the age of 20, I became a reporter for the Eye of the World and traveled all over the world to collect the information I wanted. Now I've fulfilled my wish and can awaken with peace of mind. Qin Haodong asked, since you knew that a Holy Virgin would awaken, why didn't you go to the Holy City in advance? It would have been safer. Cathaway said, the awakening of a Holy Virgin is random. No one knows when it will happen. I can't be imprisoned in the provincial capital like a prisoner. Once the awakening begins, I can't move at will, because the holy power is concentrated in this area. Once I leave, the awakening will stop, so I can only go to the Holy City after I complete the awakening in the Grand Duke's mansion. Qin Haodong asked curiously, after your body awakens, you can't always look like this, can you? Cathaway said, of course not. After the awakening, I will win the approval of the angel's heart, the sacred object of the divine court. At that time, I will return to the appearance of a normal human. Oh. Qin Haodong nodded. How long will it take for you to awaken? Cathaway said, according to the records of the divine court, the awakening of a holy virgin usually takes about 3 days, but because the specific situation is different, some may be longer or shorter. There is no specific time. The two chatted for a while, and Qin Haodong said, "Have a rest. I won't disturb you." After that, he was about to leave. Cathaway said again, "Qin, thank you." Qin Haodong said, "We're friends. You don't have to be so polite." Cathaway bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and said, "Qin, the Holy Virgin of the Divine Court can also find a boyfriend." "Oh. Then I wish you happiness." After that, Qin Haodong left the room. Looking at his back, Cathaway had a complicated expression. In fact, before this, she had been very resistant to becoming a holy virgin, and it was for this reason that she ran out to be a reporter. But since she met Qin Haodong in Yunnan province, the figure of this Huaxia man flashed through her mind from time to time. She knew that she had fallen in love with this handsome young man. However, she also knew that Qin Haodong was excellent, but her identity as the daughter of the Grand Duke was not good enough for him, so she decided to become the Holy Virgin of the Divine Court. Qin Haodong didn't know about this. After going out, he said goodbye to Alex and was about to leave. But at this moment, a beautiful figure walked in. "It's you, Shiyumi. Why are you here?" Qin Haodong was a little surprised again. He didn't expect to meet Shiyumi here, who had been away for a few days. Shiyumi was surprised to see Qin Haodong. She rushed over and hugged his arm. "Haodong, we met so soon. It's really fate." Qin Haodong asked, "Didn't you say that you had something important to do? Why are you here?" Alex, who was next to him, said, "Dr. Qin, I didn't expect you to be familiar with Miss Shiyumi. She is a designer invited by the Divine Court to make clothes for the Holy Virgin. Because the news about the Holy Virgin needs to be kept secret, we told Miss Shiyumi not to tell anyone else." "Oh." Qin Haodong nodded. Perhaps only the invitation of the Divine Court could make Shiyumi say goodbye to the fashion fair in advance. Alex continued, "Miss Shiyumi is really dedicated to her work. When she came to the Rising Sun City this morning, I asked her to take a rest first, but she firmly disagreed. She came here to confirm the size of the Holy Virgin's clothes." She didn't mean it, but Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. Shiyumi had been away for 2 days, but she had just arrived in the Rising Sun City this morning. Where had she been in the middle of the day? What could be more important than the Fashion Week and the invitation of the Divine Court? Although he thought so in his heart, he didn't say it out loud. He said, "Then you go ahead. I'll go back first." Shiyumi didn't let go of his arm. She asked, "What are you doing in the Rising Sun City?" Qin Haodong said, "I have nothing to do, so I came here to play." Shiyumi said, "Where do you live? How long are you going to stay in the Rising Sun City?" Qin Haodong said, "I rented a villa on the outskirts of the city and I'm living there now. It's hard to say how long I'll stay. If I'm in a good mood, I'll play for a while. If I feel bored, I'll go back to Huaxia." For some reason, he had always been wary of Shiyumi. It was an instinctive reaction, so he didn't tell her his real plan. Shiyumi said, "That's great. I haven't found a hotel yet. Wait a minute. I'll go back with you as soon as I measure Miss Cathaway." Qin Haodong asked, "What are you going to do with me?" "Of course I'm going to live with you. Didn't we live together in M country? Do you have any other ideas?" Shiyumi winked at him naughtily and then quickly went into Cathaway's bedroom. A few minutes later, she returned. "Well, we can go now." After that, she naturally took Qin Haodong's arm and they left the Grand Duke's mansion together. After they got in the car, Shiyumi took Qin Haodong's arm and said, "I haven't had breakfast yet. I'm so hungry now. Shouldn't you treat me to a big meal here?" "Okay, you can choose whatever you want to eat." It was time for lunch and Qin Haodong was a little hungry. "I've been in M country for so long. I'm a little tired of Western food. I want to eat Huaxia food. Let's find a Huaxia restaurant." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Okay." A few minutes later, they drove to a restaurant called Huaxia Dumpling King. As soon as they arrived at the door, they smelled the pure aroma of Huaxia food. He walked in with Shi Yumi and Lei Fu. Because it was the rush hour, there were no private rooms available, so they chose a table in the hall and sat down. Chapter 838. The service here was pretty good, and the dishes were soon served. Looking at the steaming dumplings in front of him, Lei Fu, who had never eaten Chinese food, asked curiously, "Boss, what's this?" "It's called dumplings. It's the most famous delicacy in Huaxia. There's an old saying that dumplings are better than delicious, and they're more comfortable than lying down." Qin Haodong picked up a dumpling and put it on his plate. He poured soy sauce and vinegar on it and began to eat. After taking a bite, he nodded and said to Shi Yumi, "It tastes good. It's indeed authentic Huaxia." Shi Yumi said, "I haven't eaten dumplings for a long time. I'm going to have a big meal today." Lei Fu also wanted to learn how to eat dumplings, but the problem was that he had never eaten Chinese food and didn't know how to use chopsticks at all. He struggled for a long time, but he still couldn't put a dumpling on his plate. Smelling the fragrance of the dumplings, Lei Fu was a little anxious. "Master, how did you do it? How do you use these two small sticks?" Seeing his embarrassed look, Qin Haodong couldn't help laughing. A dignified golden-haired alpha wolf was stumped by chopsticks. He carefully taught Lei Fu for a long time before he managed to put a dumpling in his mouth. Delicious, dumplings are really delicious. Huaxia people are really great. They can actually invent such delicious things. While the three of them were eating, 7 or 8 people appeared in front of the door. The leader was a young man in his 30s. He was wearing a limited edition Omega gold watch and a suit handmade by an old Italian tailor. His hair was meticulously combed. Behind him were 8 bodyguards. Each of them was tall and imposing. It seemed that they were the young masters of a big family. The man was about to go upstairs and had one foot on the stairs. But at this moment, he suddenly saw Shi Yumi, who was eating next to him. His eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately changed his direction and walked to Qin Haodong's table. "May I have a word with you, beautiful lady?" The young man said to Shi Yumi politely, acting like a gentleman. Shi Yumi glanced at him. She had seen many people like him who took the initiative to talk to her. She said, "Sorry, I'm eating. I don't want to talk to anyone." But the young man had no intention of backing down. He pulled a chair and sat next to Shi Yumi. "Beautiful Oriental beauty, let me introduce myself. My name is Fabio, the heir of the Fabio family of the Rising Sun Empire." Shi Yumi frowned and ignored him. She began to eat the dumplings on the plate again. Fabio continued, "Beautiful lady, our Fabio family has a world-famous film and television company. I think your temperament is too good, and you're beautiful. You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. Are you interested in developing your career in the Western film industry? I guarantee that within a year, no, within half a year, I can make you a world-class superstar." After saying that, he looked at Shi Yumi expectantly. In the past, he had used this method to flirt with many beautiful women. When those people heard that he could make them famous, they would immediately jump into his arms obediently. He believed that this woman in front of him would be no exception. After all, every woman had a dream of becoming a star. But the result disappointed him. Shi Yumi put down her chopsticks and said coldly, "Are you done? If you're done, please leave. Don't disturb our meal." Fabio was stunned. He didn't expect this result. He said in surprise, "Miss, I don't know if you heard me clearly, but I can make you the most popular film and television star in the world." Shi Yumi said, "Mr. Fabio, I can tell you clearly that I have my own career. I'm not interested in the so-called film and television star. You'd better lie to other women." "Miss, what are you talking about? How could I lie to you?" Fabio obviously didn't want to give up. He said again, "What I said is true. What career can be compared with a film and television star? With me, you can not only make a lot of money, but also become the most famous and popular star in the world. In your Huaxia language, it's called gaining both fame and fortune. Isn't that good? Shi Yumi had obviously lost her patience. She said impatiently, I've made it clear to you that I'm not interested in film and television stars, and I'm not interested in you either. Would you please leave? After being rejected one after another, Fabio was also angry. He tore off his gentleman's veil. Huaxia women, I know that what you love most is money. How about you accompany me for a drink? How about $1 million for an hour? He had just said so much just to trick Shi Yumi into going with him. Now that the dream of being a star was not working, he began to spend a lot of money. In his opinion, $1 million for an hour was definitely a big deal. No woman could refuse it. Shi Yumi was furious. There was such a man tempting her with money in front of Qin Haodong, which made her feel that her status had been lowered. Get out of here. I don't want to see you again. Shi Yumi's accumulated anger completely burst out. Fabio was stunned at first, and then he flew into a rage. He stood up and said, You shameless woman. How dare you ask me, young Master Fabio, to get out of here in the rising sun city? At this time, he had no scruples anymore. He waved to the bodyguards behind him and shouted, Take this Huaxia woman away. Robbing people in public was an extremely domineering way, no matter where it was. However, when the people in the restaurant heard that they were from the Fabio family, not only did no one dare to stop them, but they also quickly left the restaurant. Even the waiters in the restaurant hid far away. It seemed that they were afraid of being implicated. In just a dozen seconds, only Qin Haodong's group and the people of the Fabio family were left in the huge restaurant. The hot-tempered Lei Fu had long widened his eyes, but without Qin Haodong's order, he couldn't do anything. Seeing Qin Haodong waving to him, he suddenly stood up, raised his hand, grabbed a bodyguard by the neck, and threw him out like a scarecrow. Fabio saw that Qin Haodong and Shi Yumi were silent and thought that they were frightened by the fame of his family. At this time, Lei Fu's sudden attack startled him. Boy, how dare you touch a member of our Fabio family? Cripple him for me. After hearing the order, the remaining bodyguards gave up on Shi Yumi and rushed to Lei Fu together. These people were all bodyguards hired by the Fabio family with a high salary. Some of them used to be fighters in the underground boxing ring, and some were retired soldiers of well-known special forces. All of them had extraordinary skills. But compared to Lei Fu, the golden-haired Wolf King, they were far inferior. Before Fabio could come to his senses, all of them were put to the ground, wailing. Looking at Lei Fu coming over, Fabio said with a face full of fear, What are you going to do? I'm telling you, I'm a member of the Fabio family. If you offend me, you won't be able to live in the rising sun city for a day. But before he could finish speaking, Lei Fu's big hand with black hair had already grabbed his neck. He suddenly couldn't say a word, and even breathing became an extravagant hope. Lei Fu carried him to Qin Haodong and threw him hard on the ground. Boss, what do you think we should do with this guy? Qin Haodong said lightly, Didn't he say he wanted to drink? Then you should treat him to a drink. Got it, boss. Lei Fu responded and grabbed a bottle of red wine on the table next to him. He raised his hand and unscrewed the cap of the bottle. Then, he inserted the glass shards and the red wine into Fabio's mouth. Ah! Ugh! Fabio's mouth was full of blood. He wanted to howl, but he choked on the red wine and coughed. He suddenly felt like he was drowning, and even his eyes turned white. This state lasted for more than a minute before Lei Fu finally poured all the red wine into his mouth. Fabio finally regained his breath and spat out the glass shards in his mouth. He pointed to Qin Haodong and shouted, Boy, you must die today for offending me, Fabio. Lei Fu, it looks like he hasn't drunk enough. Give him another bottle, said Qin Haodong. Got it, boss. Lei Fu stepped on Fabio's chest and inserted another bottle of red wine into his mouth. 2 minutes later, Fabio finally regained his breath. This time, he was no longer arrogant. Although he still looked at Qin Haodong with anger in his eyes, he didn't dare to say a word. He knew that the man in front of him looked gentle, but he was definitely a ruthless character. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "How was the wine, Mr. Fabio? Would you like another bottle?" "No, I don't want it anymore." At this point, Fabio could only lower his noble head. "I'm sorry. It was my fault just now. Please let me go." Qin Haodong didn't have much interest in such a small character. He waved his hand to Lei Fu and said, "Throw them out. Don't affect our meal." "Got it, boss." Lei Fu was a loyal servant. He carried out Qin Haodong's order meticulously. He grabbed Fabio's neck and threw him out of the restaurant. After they came back, the three continued to sit at the table and eat. The owner of the hotel ran over while trembling. "Please don't eat at my place, okay? I'm a small business here, and I can't afford to offend the Fabio family." He had been operating here for more than 10 years and knew very well the character of the Fabio family. They had always been vengeful. Besides, the heir of the family had suffered a big loss today, and he believed that they would soon launch an overwhelming revenge. If these people stayed here, he was afraid that he would lose his restaurant. Shiyumi frowned and said, "But we haven't finished eating yet." Lei Fu also said discontentedly, "Isn't he just a rich playboy? Why are you afraid of him?" "Ladies and gentlemen, you're not afraid of the Fabio family, but our small business is very afraid. What do you think about this? Today's meal is free, and I won't charge you. If you're still not satisfied, I can give you a sum of money and beg you to eat in other people's restaurants." It could be seen that the owner was really frightened by the Fabio family. Qin Haodong was also very unhappy. A good meal was ruined by these guys. But he knew the owner's difficulties, so he said, "Well, we'll come here for dinner another day." The three of them left the restaurant and were not in the mood to eat in other restaurants. They drove directly to the villa. But not long after they left the city, more than a dozen SUVs with roaring engines caught up with them and surrounded their Land Cruiser in the blink of an eye. Lei Fu stopped and saw dozens of men in black rushing out of the opposite car. These people were all armed with guns, and their leader was Fabio, who had just been beaten up. He was holding a Desert Eagle in his hand. He pointed to Qin Haodong's car and shouted, "Huaxia boy, get out of the car, or I'll shoot you into a sieve." Chapter 839. Seeing these people in front of him, Qin Haodong frowned. This guy was really haunting him. "Lo, get rid of these men." After saying that, Qin Haodong pulled Shimi, who was sitting in the back seat, into his arms. With the protective chi of a saint, he was not afraid of ordinary bullets at all, but the coverage was limited. He couldn't protect Shiyumi in the back seat, so he could only hold her in his arms. Lo agreed and was just about to get out of the car when a shadow flashed past in front of the gunman. After the afterimage, all of them were sent flying, and the spears in their hands were turned into scrap metal. In the blink of an eye, more than 30 gunmen were taken care of. It was clear that the newcomer was very strong. Fabio was shocked. He quickly raised his gun and looked at the figure. A very coquettish woman appeared in front of him. It was Vampire Prince Corkina. You. Don't come any closer. I'm a member of the Fabio family. If you come any closer, I'll shoot." Fabio shouted like this, but he was so scared that he almost couldn't hold the gun in his hand. "A lowly creature like you dares to disrespect my master?" After Corkina finished speaking, she suddenly appeared in front of Fabio and grabbed his hand that was holding the gun. Her hand, which looked as white as jade, was harder than a steel claw. She directly crushed Fabio's hand, along with the desert. Of the eagle was also crushed into a piece of scrap metal. After kicking Fabio to the ground, Corkina turned to Qin Haodong in the car and said, "Master, what should we do with this guy?" Qin Haodong and Shiyumi got out of the car and came to Fabio. Lei Fu said bitterly, "Boss, this guy keeps causing trouble for us. Let's just kill him." Feeling Lo's murderous intent, Fabio was so scared that he almost wet his pants. He quickly shouted, "Don't kill me. I'm a member of the Phillips family. If you kill me, Grand Duke Nemechek will never let you off." "The Philip family?" Qin Haodong asked. "Didn't you say that you were from the Fabio family?" Without waiting for Fabio to speak, Corkina said, "Master, the Philip family is a vampire family, and Prince Philip is also one of the 6 vampire princes. Whether it was the divine court or the big families in the dark world, there were many businesses and affiliated families in the secular world that made money for them. The Fabio family was one of the affiliated families of the Philip family." Seeing that someone knew about the Philip family, Fabio was finally relieved. He endured the pain in his hand and shouted, "This woman is someone that Grand Duke Nemechek likes. Let me go quickly." Qin Haodong directly used mind manipulating and asked, "Who is Nemechek? Why did he catch Shiyumi?" Fabio said, "Grand Duke Nemechek is a member of the Philip family and now lives in our house. He asked me to come out and find a beautiful woman for him to eat, and also to become his descendant. Grand Duke Nemechek has always liked Chinese women, so when I saw this woman, I wanted to bring her back." A cold light flashed in Qin Haodong's eyes. "A little vampire duke dares to attack us Huaxia people." At this moment, a small black spot flew quickly from a distance. It was a bat with a golden halo on its wings. The bat was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of them and transformed into a middle-aged man in his 50s. He was the vampire duke of the Philip family, Nemechek. As a vampire duke, Nemechek was extremely proud. When he saw Fabio lying on the ground, his expression changed. "Who dares to attack my people?" "It's me. Do you have any problem with that?" Corkina's eyes were full of coquettishness as she spoke, but her eyes were full of cold killing intent. She had just felt her master's dissatisfaction with Nemechek. If she had not received Qin Haodong's order, she would have killed him at this time. There was a strict hierarchy among vampires. After seeing Corkina, Nemechek trembled with fear. How could he not know this vampire prince? He bowed respectfully to Corkina and said, "Dear Princess Corkina, Fabio is my vassal. I don't know how he offended you. If you are not satisfied, I can kill him now." Hearing this, Fabio's eyes flashed with despair. Even his master could not protect him. What hope did he have to live? He did not know who the young man in front of him was. How could he make the Grand Duke of the Philip family bow down to him? Qin Haodong said, "I heard that you asked him to capture Huaxia people as blood food?" Compared with Corkina, Nemechek was not so in awe of Qin Haodong. "Yes, I asked him to do it. Sucking blood is the instinct of us vampires, and the blood of Huaxia people tastes better." Before he could finish speaking, a golden light suddenly flashed, and then a golden sword pierced his chest. Nemechek's eyes widened in surprise. As a vampire duke, his body was strong enough to resist bullets, but in front of this golden sword, he was as vulnerable as tofu. As a vampire, although his vitality was extremely strong, his heart was the root of his life. If his heart was pierced, there was no hope of survival. Qin Haodong did not care about that at all. He put away the Xian Yuan sword and said to Corkina, "I don't want to interfere in the affairs of the Western world, but I will never allow you to take Huaxia people as blood food." "Yes, master." Corkina said with some embarrassment, "But master, I can only restrain my own family. I really can't control the other 5 vampire families, especially the Philip family. Its master, Prince Philip, is much stronger than me. He belongs to the top of the 6 families. I can't order them at all." As she spoke, a golden-winged bat suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and then turned into a handsome middle-aged man. When he saw Nemechek on the ground, the man's expression immediately became gloomy. He said with a murderous look, "Corkina, how dare you attack the Grand Duke of the Philip family?" The man was Prince Philip. Corkina did not speak, but her whole body was tense, ready to fight at any time. Qin Haodong glanced at Philip and said, "I killed him. He dared to take Huaxia people as blood food. Killing him is just a small punishment. If you still don't repent, then I don't mind destroying your entire Philip family. Boy, who are you? Do you know who you are talking to? A bloodthirsty red light flashed in Philip's eyes as he spoke. Corkina said, "He is my master, Philip. I advise you to do as my master says, or you will be the enemy of our family in the future." Your family? Philip laughed wildly. If it weren't for the fact that we are all vampires, would have destroyed your small family long ago. I didn't expect that as a noble vampire, you would be so depraved and recognize a human as your master. You really disgraced the vampires. For the glory of our vampires, I will wash away this shame for Ancestor Cain and kill this Washia man at the same time. After saying that, he moved his feet and rushed over like an arrow released from a bow. Although Corkina was not as strong as Philip, she was restricted by the master-servant contract. She could not retreat at this time, so she could only bite the bullet and fight him. The two vampire princes rarely fought together. Blood was the source of all the power of the vampires. Philip's blood was far purer than Corkina's, so he had an absolute advantage in both speed and strength. After fighting for a few minutes, Corkina was carelessly scratched by Philip, leaving 5 deep wounds on her left shoulder. She was going to fight to the death, but Qin Haodong called her back. "Well, you are no match for him. Let me do it." Qin Haodong called Corkina back and stepped in front of Philip. Philip glanced at Qin Haodong and licked his lips greedily. "Huaxia man, I haven't seen such a bloody food for a long time. It seems that I can have a good meal today." Then he opened his arms like a big flying bat, and his 2 sharp hands grabbed Qin Haodong's neck. Qin Haodong snorted coldly and punched Philip's claws twice in an instant. The 2 punches seemed to be very casual, but in fact, they were so powerful that Philip was sent flying. Philip was shocked. The vampires had a unique advantage in strength and physical defense, and he had never thought of losing to a human. But before he could come back to his senses, Qin Haodong had already followed him like a shadow, grabbed his ankle, and slammed him to the ground. "Huaxia man, you are looking for death." Philip was about to go crazy. As a noble vampire, how could he be beaten by a human in such a shameful way? In a rage, he used all his strength and clawed at Qin Haodong with both hands. The power of the vampires lay in their strength, speed, and defense, but they did not have any moves to speak of. They relied entirely on their own instincts to fight. Unfortunately, Qin Haodong's strength, speed, and defense were not inferior to the vampire princes, and he had an overwhelming advantage in terms of moves and experience. In the end, there was only one result of the fight between the two, and that was that Philip was beaten. In just a few minutes, the gentlemanly prince had been beaten up like a dog. His hair was disheveled, and he was in a sorry state. His expensive suit had become a tattered one, and 2 panda eyes hung on his pig-like head. Finally, Philip found an opportunity to get rid of Qin Haodong and flew into the air. "Huaxia man, how dare you treat me like this? I will not forgive you sooner or later." He was now completely convinced. He knew that he was no match for Qin Haodong, so he could only use his advantage of flying to escape. Qin Haodong looked at him coldly and said, "I will give you one last chance. From now on, you and your people are not allowed to fight against the Huaxia people, or die." "Huaxia man, what right do you have to give orders to the noble vampire princes? Come up if you can." The Western world had a rule that they were not allowed to invade the Eastern world. Therefore, although Philip had lived for thousands of years, he had never fought with a master from Huaxia. He did not know that saints also had the ability to fly. In his opinion, as long as he flew into the air, he would be in an invincible position. "Ignorant thing, you've brought this upon yourself." Qin Haodong stopped talking nonsense with him and instantly appeared above Philip's head. Then, a golden sword slashed down from the air. Philip was completely scared. He did not expect that Qin Haodong not only had the ability to fly, but he was also so fast. In a panic, he stretched out a hand to grab the golden sword to block it. Generally speaking, when one reached the level of a vampire prince, their skin was comparable to steel, and even ordinary swords could not hurt them. But sadly, he was facing the invincible Xianyuan sword. After a flash of golden light, Philip was directly cut in half, and his broken body fell to the ground with a thud. Chapter 840. After killing Philip, Qin Haodong put away the Xianyuan sword and said to Corkina, "From now on, you will take over the Philip family. Then spread my ban. If any vampire family dares to attack the Huaxia people again, they will end up like Philip." Corkina said, "Master, it's easy to take over the Philip family, but it's very difficult to completely control them. They have many Grand Dukes, and I can't stay there all the time." "That's easy. You can choose a qualified Grand Duke from the family and bring him to me. I'll help him promote to the level of prince, and then you can take over the Philip family." "That's great, master." Corkina said happily, "I have a daughter named Avril. Although she's just over 1,000 years old, she has already reached the level of Grand Duke. Is she okay?" "Of course. Bring her to me." Corkina was now his servant, so Qin Haodong certainly did not mind helping her grow a little. "Thank you, master." Although vampires had a long life, their fertility was extremely low. Corkina had only had one daughter for so many years. She was naturally very happy that she could grow into a prince. After dealing with the matter here, Qin Haodong took Shi Yumi and Lo to the car and left. As for Fabio and the gunman he brought with him, they were all handed over to Corkina. Their lives were in the hands of this vampire prince. After Qin Haodong left, Cathaway's Saintess awakening returned to normal, which made the people of the Divine Palace rejoice. At this time, the Emperor's decree officially confirmed Zhang Feiyang's identity as the Red High Priest, and he would officially become a member of the Divine Palace. As Qin Haodong had guessed, the news that a Huaxia person had obtained the inheritance of the Holy Hexagram spread throughout the Western world in an instant. In order to maintain the tolerant attitude of the Divine Palace, the Emperor naturally could not oppose it. Therefore, for the first time, a Huaxia person was among the Red High Priests of the Divine Palace. Although Yankovic was extremely unhappy with this decision, he had no choice. He could not openly oppose the Emperor. Alice said to him, "I've already said that you can't be prejudiced against the Huaxia people. The Divine Lord is tolerant. All humans are his people." Yankovic shook his head and said, "I'm not prejudiced against Huaxia people. I just don't think Qin Haodong is a good guy." Alex said, "You can't say that. Have you forgotten that he saved the Holy Maiden of the Divine Court just now? If it weren't for him, Cathaway's awakening would have been extremely difficult. But I still feel that something is wrong. Anthony must have died in his hands. Perhaps he is an undercover agent sent by the Dark Parliament." Alex said with dissatisfaction, "How is this possible? Do you think that an undercover agent of the Dark Parliament will kill one of our cardinal priests and save our saintess? Don't you know who is more important to the Divine Court?" Just then, Great Knight Hulk hurriedly walked in from outside. "Miss Alex, something big just happened." "What is it?" Hulk said, "Our people just received news that Qin Haodong killed Prince Philip of the Blood Clan and his subordinate Grand Duke Nemechek." Alex asked, "Do you know why?" "Because Nemechek of the Philip family wanted to kill Miss Shi Yumi, whom he had taken away. Qin Haodong killed Philip in a fit of rage. At the same time, he issued a ban on all the Western vampires, forbidding them from attacking the Huaxia people." Yankovic said, "Selfish guy. He only knows how to protect the people of his country." Alex glanced at him and said, "Do you want him to order the Blood Clan not to drink all human blood? Do you think it's possible?" Yankovic was speechless. Not allowing the Blood Clan to drink blood was like not allowing humans to eat. It was impossible. He said with dissatisfaction, "I really don't understand why you keep speaking for that Huaxia guy. I'm just stating the facts. Didn't you just say that he is an undercover agent of the Blood Clan? How did he kill a prince of the Blood Clan in the blink of an eye?" Yankovic had nothing to say, but his resentment towards Qin Haodong deepened. Alex said, "Take some people to guard here. I'll go out for a while." Yankovic had a bad feeling in his heart. "Where are you going?" Alex said, I'm going to visit Dr. Chin. I think he is too mysterious. There are many things about him that we haven't discovered yet. Yankovic said anxiously, Alex, do you like that Huaxia guy? Alex frowned and said, don't make it so complicated, okay? I just want to investigate for the divine court. He is too mysterious. And I'm free. It has nothing to do with you who I like. Alex, it's not like that. Yankovic said, I'm just worried about your safety. I think it's dangerous for you to go to his place alone. I'll go with you. Alex said with dissatisfaction, are you spying on me? Yankovic quickly said, no, I just want to have a look. But I don't like you to follow me. Alex, you just said that we are all free. You have no right to stop me. But if you leave, who will be responsible for this place? Yankovic said, Balderrama and the others will be there, and it's not too far away. If something happens, we can come back in a few minutes. Well, you can come with me, but remember to keep your mouth shut. Don't have any conflict with Mr. Chin. Okay, I'll listen to you. In order to protect Alex, Yankovic agreed. They left the Duke's mansion together and rushed to Chin Haodong's villa. After returning home, Chin Haodong felt that he did not have a good lunch. In the evening, he cooked a large table of delicious dishes. Just when he was about to have dinner with Shi Yumi and Lei Fu, the doorbell suddenly rang. Feeling the two bright auras outside the door, Chin Haodong frowned slightly. He didn't know why the people of the divine court came at this time. Lei Fu went to open the door and Alex and Yankovic came in. Seeing Yankovic, Chin Haodong's face became cold. What are you doing here? Did another red-robed high priest of the divine court go missing? As a paladin of the divine court, Yankovic had always been arrogant. When he was scolded by Chin Haodong as soon as he entered the door, he immediately became angry. But just when he was about to lose his temper, Alex stopped him with a stern look. Mr. Chin, we're here as guests. Don't you welcome us? Alex said and sniffed. What smells so good? Could it be that Dr. Chin made delicious food? Can we have a taste together? Among the people of the divine court, Chin Haodong had a good impression of this straightforward red-robed high priest. He nodded and said, since you're here, let's have dinner together. Then he invited them into the dining room and everyone sat down to eat. It smells so good. Alex did not put on any airs as a red-robed high priest. She sat down and began to attack the plate of braised eggplant in front of her. Unfortunately, she did not know how to use chopsticks. She tried several times, but failed to eat the delicious food. In the end, Shi Yumi took 2 sets of Western-style knives and forks. Then she forked a piece of eggplant into her mouth. It's delicious. It's so delicious. I've never eaten such delicious food. Alex said and forked another small pie. She took a bite and said, it's delicious. Why is this pizza so strange? Why is the filling in it? And the filling is so strange. Chin Haodong was speechless and explained, this is not pizza. It's our Huaxia gourmet pie with the filling of Sanxian. Sanxian? Are they 3 kinds of immortals? Alexis asked with a surprised expression. Well, Chin Haodong explained, they're not immortals. They're fresh and delicious. There are chives, eggs, and shrimps in it, so it's called Sanxian. Anyway, it's delicious. As she spoke, Alice had already finished the small pie on her plate. Then, she unwillingly forked another piece over. She observed the pie and asked, it's so strange. There's no gap at all. How did you put the filling in? Well, in the face of such a problematic high priest, Chin Haodong was really helpless. Could he still eat happily? At this moment, the door opened and Corkina, the vampire prince, walked in with her daughter, Avril. When she saw Yankovic and Alex sitting at the table, she was stunned. Obviously, she didn't expect these 2 people to eat in her master's house. Yankovic naturally knew Corkina. They had just fought in the Grand Duke's mansion last night. He stood up and drew out the holy light cross sword on his back. What are you going to do? When he was about to make a move, Qin Haodong said coldly, This is my home and they are my guests. I don't care what grudges there are between you, but you're not allowed to fight here. Seeing that Qin Haodong was unhappy, Alex stopped Yankovic and said, Mr. Qin is right. We're here as guests, not to fight. Sit down and eat. Yankovic cried, but they're dark creatures, vampires, enemies of our sacred city. As a paladin of the Holy See, how can I sit back and watch? Qin Haodong said again, I don't care if you're from the Holy Court or the Dark Parliament. There's nothing special here. As long as you're in my house, you're my guests. You can fight outside, but you're not allowed to do it here. Well, Yankovic originally wanted to ignore it, but he remembered that Qin Haodong had killed Prince Philip, the strongest of the vampire clan. He knew that this young man was extremely powerful. If he really annoyed him, he and Alex might not be able to gain any advantage. At this time, Alex pulled him back to the chair and said, We're here as guests. Sit down and eat. Yankovic didn't say anything else after that. Korkina sat next to him with her daughter. Avril was dressed the opposite of her. She had long hair and was wearing a long white dress. She looked gentle and elegant. If one didn't know her background, they would really think that she was a lady. No one would think that she was the Grand Duke of the vampire clan. Qin Haodong looked around the table and couldn't help but feel a little amused. It was really a unique meal. The archpriest and paladin of the Holy Court, the Golden Wolf King of the Dark Parliament, and the vampire prince were sitting at the same table. If there was also a dark wizard, it would be perfect. At this time, a man wrapped in a black robe appeared at the door of the villa. It was the great wizard Sissy. Chapter 841. As one of the top wizards of the Dark Council, Sissy had also participated in the siege of Grand Duke Andrea's mansion. During the day, he met Qin Haodong by chance and immediately felt a familiar aura from him. He realized that the young man in front of him was the one who had broken the black witchcraft he had cast on Angel. However, Sissy was a man who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance and was extremely cunning. He knew that the Huaxia man in front of him must have some ability since he could break his black witchcraft. In the daytime, the power of his magic would definitely be greatly weakened. Therefore, he secretly made a mark on Shiyumi's body. After dark, he followed the mark and found this place. Huaxia boy, come out and die. Sisei's voice was very unpleasant. It resounded in the night sky like a crow's caw, and at the same time, it gave people a sense of gloomy fear. Hearing that someone was disrespectful to his master, Lei Fu immediately got up and was about to rush out. Qin Haodong stopped him and said, Wait a minute, let's go out together. His spirit was very strong. At this time, he had already felt that the dark aura outside the courtyard was very powerful. If Lei Fu didn't transform, he might not be a match for it. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He turned around and said to Yankovic and Alex, It seems that I have some trouble here. Let's go out and have a look. Alex and Yankovic were both guests. Since the master had left, they naturally felt embarrassed to continue eating here, so they followed Qin Haodong to the courtyard. When they saw Sissy standing at the door, Yankovic and Alex were both shocked. They had been enemies for many years, and they had just fought with him last night. Naturally, it was impossible for them not to know that he was a great wizard of the Dark Council. At the same time, Sissy also saw Alex, as well as the vampire Prince Korkina and her daughter standing next to them. The black robe on his body couldn't help but shake, which showed that he was surprised. A Huaxia man, a red high priest of the divine court, a holy knight, a vampire prince of the Dark Council, and a vampire Grand Duke. How could they be together? It turned out that it was Sissy who was looking for trouble with her master. Korkina was about to step forward, but Qin Haodong stopped her with a look. Although she didn't know what her master meant, as a servant, what she had to do was to obey. Qin Haodong said to Sissy, Who are you? What are you doing here? As a great magus of the Dark Council, Sisay had always been arrogant. Although he did not understand the situation before him, he did not change his mind about revenge. One of the most important reasons was that he had his own means of escape. Even if the opponent had a holy knight and a cardinal priest, he could still escape if he couldn't beat them. Huaxia man, was it you who broke the black witchcraft I cast on that little girl? Qin Haodong nodded and said, "You're the murderer who killed such a young child. According to the rules of our dark sorcerer tribe, anyone who dares to destroy our sorcery will have their fresh blood offered to the dark sorcerer god. So, you must die today. What's so great about being a dark magus? Can't you see that I have a grand knight protecting me?" Qin Haodong said to Yankovic with a playful smile on his face, "Mr. Holy Knight, am I right? They are dark creatures and enemies of the divine court. As a member of the divine court, you can't just sit back and watch." Although he could take care of Sisay himself, the guy next to him had just sat at his table and pretended to be cool. It was natural for him to use him as a free fighter. Yankovic's expression changed. Naturally, he did not want to be Qin Haodong's free fighter. So, he had not said a word and did not show it. But now that Sisay had said his righteous words again, as a holy knight of the divine court, he could not back down. He could only bite the bullet and stand out. "Sisay, with me, Yankovic here, don't even think about doing anything. I advise you to surrender as soon as possible and use the holy light of the Lord God to purify your dark soul." Sisay said coldly, "Yankovic, don't think that the people of the divine court are great. Today, I'm looking for a Huaxia man, but if you insist on standing out, I don't mind killing you too. Evil creatures of darkness, die." Yankovic shouted and pulled out the holy light cross sword on his back. A sharp holy light slashed out. Great Wizard Sisay lifted his black robe sleeve and flicked it up gently. A cloud of black gas flew out and wrapped around the holy light slash. Although the holy light could restrain dark creatures, it was limited. This cloud of black gas was too powerful. In the end, it melted into the night along with the holy light cross sword. Being able to easily block the attack of a holy knight, it was enough to show how powerful Sisay's magic power was. After blocking that attack, Sisay didn't stop. He raised his other sleeve, and a sparkling crystal staff appeared in his hand. "Yankovic, I'll let you taste the feeling of hundreds of beasts devouring your soul." After saying that, he dripped a drop of blood on the crystal staff. Then, black smoke came out of the staff and finally turned into the souls of beasts. There were lions, tigers, bears, and elephants. After being refined by black witchcraft, they were extremely powerful. They all pounced on Yankovic as if they were real. In the face of the powerful black witchcraft, Yankovic did not dare to be careless. He slashed with the holy light cross sword in his hand, and rays of holy light shot towards those beast souls. He was the most powerful holy knight in the palace of gods. The holy light cross sword in his hand was also a holy item passed down from the palace of gods. It was extremely powerful. A ferocious tiger beast soul pounced towards Yankovic. However, before it could get close, a ray of holy light had already split it in half and purified it. In less than a minute, the hundreds of beast souls that Sisay had released were all killed by Yankovic. After a small victory, he was obviously very proud. He shouted to Sisay, "Quickly kneel and beg for mercy. Let my Lord God purify your soul." Sisay's entire body was wrapped in a black robe. Even his face could not be seen clearly. However, from the slight trembling of his robe, it could be seen that he was extremely angry. Darkness descends. Lowly creature, sacrifice your soul, soul strangulation. After he finished chanting, an even denser black fog shot out from the crystal staff. However, this time, it did not shoot towards Yankovic. Instead, it flew into the air. The black fog stopped when it was about 10 meters above the ground. It formed an inverted top and then began to spin rapidly. After the black fog started to spin, it formed a black vortex. A huge suction force swept towards Yankovic. It was like a range hood, but also like a bottomless black hole. Yankovic's expression changed. He could already feel the huge power of the black vortex. In his mind, he had an urge to leave his body. If his soul was really sucked into the black vortex, he would be doomed eternally. Lord God, please bestow me power. Holy light slash. With a loud shout, the holy light cross sword suddenly burst into a dazzling light. Like a shining meteor, it flew towards the black vortex above his head. With a loud bang, the black and white holy light collided, setting off a violent whirlwind that swept in all directions. Yankovic's sword was very powerful, but it did not completely disintegrate the vortex above his head. The top formed by the black fog paused for a moment before spinning again. Soon, it returned to its previous state. Yankovic was secretly shocked. He had used all his strength in that sword strike, but he did not expect that he could not destroy Sisay's witchcraft. Seeing that the suction force was coming again, he had no choice but to slash again. However, the sword light could only alleviate the suction force. It could not completely destroy the black fog above his head. If this continued, he would die of exhaustion. After slashing more than a dozen times, Yankovic's head was already covered in cold sweat. The holy light he slashed out was getting weaker and weaker. It seemed like he could not hold on any longer. Although his soul was barely holding on and not being sucked away, under the pull of the black vortex, his originally elegant golden hair flew upwards, making him look like Leizhenzi from the Eastern myths. His clothes were also in a mess, making him look extremely haggard. This situation could be seen clearly by the people around him. Qin Haodong still had a smile on his face. Ever since they met, this guy had repeatedly acted tough and kept causing trouble for him. It was only right for him to suffer a little. As for Korkina, Lev, and the others, they were all enemies of the Holy Palace. They wanted his soul to be sucked away by Sisay. However, Alex did not think so. After all, she and Yankovic were both from the Holy Palace. She could not watch her companion die under the black witchcraft. At the critical moment, she still made a move. God rules everything. God said that all dark creatures in the world should evolve. Purification. After Alex finished chanting, she pointed at the black vortex in the sky with one hand. The night sky suddenly lit up, and a holy light fell, covering the black vortex completely. Although Sisay had a slight advantage in the battle with Yankovic, he could not face the joint forces of the Red Priest and the Paladin. The black vortex was instantly purified by Alex's purification. Yankovic finally breathed a sigh of relief. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and tidied up his messy hair. He had fought with Sisay many times before, but he had never seen such a strange black witchcraft. He had almost suffered a great loss today. Most importantly, he had embarrassed himself in front of Qin Haodong. This made him feel ashamed. In a rage, he raised the holy light cross sword in his hand and shouted, "Sisay, I must kill you today. The people from the Holy Palace are really shameless. The two of you actually joined forces. I'll remember today's score and settle it with you later." Now that he knew he was no match for Alex and Yankovic, he stomped his foot lightly and turned into a black light, ready to leave. However, with a muffled bang, the black light that he had turned into hit an invisible wall and was directly knocked back. He did not even move half a step. What is this thing? Sisay was completely flustered. The reason why he had not panicked when facing so many people was that he had his own means of escape. However, the method that had always worked in the past had suddenly failed. He immediately panicked, and once again used his spell to fly out. However, like last time, the black light that he had turned into hit an invisible wall again and was bounced back. Alex and Yankovic were old rivals with Sisay. They knew that he had such a life-saving method, so they did not expect to kill him here. Now, they were surprised to see that he suddenly could not run away. Although they did not understand what was going on, after the shock, their faces were full of joy. If they could get rid of a great wizard of the Covenant of Darkness, it would definitely be a great contribution to the Holy Palace. Only Qin Haodong still had a calm smile on his face. He had just set up a trap around them. Without his permission, no one could leave. Chapter 842. Holy Light Slash. Just as Sisay was in a daze, Yankovic slashed out with his sword. The Lord of Gods controls everything. If the Lord of Gods says time stands still, time will stand still. Great prophecy. Alice obviously did not want to let go of this rare opportunity either. She cooperated and used the great prophecy to seal the space around Sisay. Facing the joint attack of two gods, Sisay hurriedly released a ball of black gas to protect himself. However, how could he be a match for the cardinal priest and the holy knight alone? The ball of black gas was quickly purified by the holy light cross sword. When the black gas dissipated, Sisay's face appeared in front of everyone. It was an extremely horrifying face. Not only was there no color of blood, but there was also almost no flesh. It was just a layer of skin on his skeleton-like face. His two eerie eyes glowed with a blood-red light. Sisay, you won't be able to escape today. Die. Seeing that he was about to make a great contribution, Yankovic became even more excited. He raised the holy light cross sword for the second time. You want to kill me? It's not that easy. A hint of madness flashed across Sisay's strange face. He then quickly chanted a spell. Respected God of Darkness, I am willing to offer my life as a sacrifice. I beg you to cast the curse of darkness. Let these people become your sacrifices, curse of the God of Darkness. At the last moment of his life, this great wizard did not choose to wait for death. Instead, he used his life as a sacrifice to cast the most powerful black witchcraft, curse of the God of Darkness. After he finished chanting the spell, before the holy light cross sword could reach him, he turned into a cloud of blood mist with a bang. Strangely, after his body turned into a cloud of blood mist, it did not dissipate. Instead, it emitted a huge pressure, as if the God of Darkness had really descended. Qin Haodong was also shocked. He had set up the trapping formation to keep Sisay here. He did not want to leave another potential enemy alive. He also wanted Yankovic to fight with him until both of them were injured. However, he did not expect this guy to use such a terrifying black witchcraft. In order to protect the people on his side, he hurriedly took out the demon vanquishing wand from his storage ring. The demon vanquishing staff was a Buddhist divine artifact. After it appeared, it immediately sensed the aura of black witchcraft and immediately shone brightly. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief and controlled the Buddha light to protect Shiyumi, Alice, and the others. In order to seize the credit, Yankovic had already rushed in front of Sisay. He was far away from them, and the Buddha's light could not reach him. Even if Qin Haodong wanted to save him, he could not. All of this happened in an instant. The curse of the God of Darkness was released at the cost of one's life, so its power was naturally astonishing. Yankovic was scared out of his wits and slashed with all his might. Unfortunately, the little bit of holy energy released by the holy light cross sword could not withstand a single blow from the God of Darkness curse. In the blink of an eye, it was completely devoured, and his entire body was shrouded in a bloody mist. After letting out a miserable howl, the holy light cross sword fell to the ground with a clang. The bloody mist continued to devour, shrouding Qin Haodong and the others. In the bloody mist, there was a huge figure of a demon. It opened its bloody mouth and wanted to swallow all of them in one bite. However, the demon vanquishing staff was a Buddhist divine artifact. The Buddha light it emitted was like an indestructible barrier, firmly blocking the bloody mist. A few seconds later, the demon let out an unwilling roar, and then slowly dissipated into the air. When the red mist dissipated, everyone heaved a sigh of relief, as if they had taken a trip to hell. There was only a crystal staff left where Caesar's office used to be. Alice hurriedly looked in Yankovic's direction, only to see that it was empty, and only a holy light cross sword was lying on the ground. Her face suddenly turned pale, and her expression was dull. Yesterday, they had just lost a red high priest, Anthony, and today, a holy knight, Yankovic, had died. For the divine court, this was something that had not happened in decades. Qin Haodong's expression was indifferent. He picked up the holy light cross sword and said to Alex, "Don't be too sad. After all, you people from the divine court have killed an advanced wizard. This is not a bad deal." Alice came back to her senses and shook her head. There are only 4 holy knights in the divine court. Now that one has been lost, I'm afraid it will be hard for me to explain to the emperor. Lev said, "What's there to explain? Sisei's black magic was too terrifying. If not for Master protecting us in time, we would all have died." Alice also knew this. She said to Qin Haodong, "Qin, thank you for saving me. This is nothing." Qin Haodong held the holy light cross sword in his hand and said, "This sword looks good. Is it a holy relic of the divine court?" Alice said, "That's right. The holy light cross sword is the same as our holy hexagram. They are both holy relic of the divine court. Only by obtaining its inheritance can one become a new holy knight." Qin Haodong's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "What are the conditions to obtain the inheritance of a holy knight?" "The holy knights of the divine court must be strong, brave, pure, and have a heart of justice." Qin Haodong said, "If that's the case, it'll be easy. I know someone who meets your requirements. He can inherit the inheritance of your holy knights." Alice said in astonishment, "Really? You're not lying to me, are you?" Generally speaking, it would take 2 or 3 years for the divine court to find an inheritor of a holy relic. Therefore, once a holy knight or a red high priest was lost, it would be difficult for them to recover their strength in a short time. It would also be a loss for the divine court. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Miss Alice, how could I lie to you? How about this, you go to the room and rest for a while. I'll give you a vigorous holy knight later. He'll definitely be 10 times stronger than the old Yankovic." Alice nodded in confusion. At the same time, she had a glimmer of hope. If she could find the inheritor of the holy knight quickly, it should be able to ease the emperor's anger. Yumi took Alice and the others back into the room. Qin Haodong took out his mobile phone and dialed Chen Fugui's number. "Come here, there's something I need you to do." Ma Wenjue, Chen Fugui, and the others were lurking near his house. After receiving the order, Chen Fugui soon appeared in the courtyard of the villa. "Boss, what do you need me to do?" Qin Haodong raised the holy light cross sword in his hand and said, "I want you to inherit this sword and become a holy knight in the divine court." Chen Fugui said hesitantly, "Boss, will that work?" "Why not? As long as you inherit this sword, you'll have the strength of a saint. Don't you want to?" Chen Fugui said, "Of course I'm willing to improve my strength, but I'm a rough man. Can I be a holy knight?" "Don't worry about that. Just do as I say." After Qin Haodong said that, he took out a cleansing pill and gave it to Chen Fugui. As a former king of the army and a 9th-level supreme power master, Chen Fugui was strong and brave. At the same time, he had a righteous heart. What he lacked now was a pure physique. After eating the cleansing pill, the last obstacle was removed. "Try it and see how it works." Qin Haodong shook his hand and the holy light cross sword flew toward Chen Fugui. Chen Fugui reached out and grabbed the hilt. Suddenly, the sword shone brightly and many things appeared in his mind. This was the inheritance of the holy knight. As Qin Haodong expected, Chen Fugui became a holy knight of the divine court without any effort. Feeling the sudden surge of light aura, Alex ran out of the room. She was slightly stunned when she saw Chen Fugui. She didn't expect the holy light cross sword to have another inheritance so soon. "Miss Alex, this is my friend, Mr. Chen Fugui. He will be the new holy knight of the divine court." "Oh my God, how did you do it?" Alex felt that her brain wasn't working well. Yesterday, the holy hexagram had chosen a Huaxia man as its inheritance. Today, the holy light cross sword had chosen another Huaxia man. This not only broke the tradition of the divine court for thousands of years, but also subverted her understanding. Miss Alex, I didn't do anything. It's just that this friend of mine meets the requirements you mentioned, so I asked him to come. Qin Haodong said with a smile, otherwise, do you think I have the ability to influence the inheritance of the divine court? Alex agreed with his words. Whether it was the holy hexagram or the holy light cross sword, they were holy relics that had been passed down for thousands of years. Legend had it that they were the property left by the Lord God. Even the Lord God Emperor couldn't influence the choice of the holy relics, let alone the Huaxia man in front of her. Thinking of this, the doubt in her heart was dispelled. Qin Haodong said to Chen Fugui, show Miss Alex the inheritance you have obtained. Chen Fugui nodded, drew out the holy light cross sword, and slashed at the void. After this slash, there was a sharp sound of breaking through the air, and at the same time, a dazzling holy light shot out. Alex's expression changed again. The strength that Chen Fugui had shown was too powerful. Not only was the holy light more than twice as powerful as Yankovic's, but it also carried a sharp aura, which was something that no holy knight had. Of course, she didn't know that Chen Fugui had been a 9th-level Supreme Power Realm expert before, and now he could be regarded as a dual cultivator of the divine court and Huaxia martial arts. Moreover, according to the conditions of the holy knight's inheritance, he was much stronger than Yankovic in terms of strength, courage, and righteousness. Coupled with the effect of the cleansing pill, the degree of inheritance he had obtained was far higher than that of Yankovic. Korkina, Loeb, and the others were also shocked. If they were to fight against such a holy knight with their strength, they would probably have to turn around and run. Qin Haodong said to Alex, what do you think? Are you satisfied with me as a friend? Qin, you really surprised me. Alex said, but such a big thing has happened. I have to go back and report to the Lord God Emperor immediately. Chen Fugui's strength was naturally a good thing, but the appearance of 2 Huaxia people in the divine court was absolutely strange. She had to report it to the Lord God Emperor immediately. After that, Alex left the villa with Chen Fugui and rushed to Grand Duke Andrea's mansion. Looking at their backs, Qin Haodong's mouth curled into a playful smile. If the Red High Priest and the Holy Knights of the Divine Court were all replaced by his own people, how would the Lord God Emperor feel? After dealing with the Divine Court, he turned around and said to Korkina and Avril, you two, come with me. After that, he took the two to the small valley not far from the villa. First, he set up an aura shielding formation, and then a lunar energy gathering formation. You two are ready. I'll help you improve your strength. Thank you, Master. Korkina said with a happy face. Chapter 843. At the level of a vampire prince, it was extremely difficult to take a step forward. Qin Haodong activated the formation, and a solid beam of light shot down from the sky. The rich power of Yin drowned Korkina and Avril. Under the cover of the power of Yin, Korkina and Avril both turned into bats. Only in this state could they maximize the speed of their absorption. Feeling the rapid improvement of their bloodline, they were so excited that they wanted to scream. Although they had lived for thousands of years, they had never cultivated as freely as they did now. But Qin Haodong frowned. This speed was still too slow in his eyes. If he wanted to help Avril reach the level of prince, it would probably take the whole night. He did not have that much time to waste. He strode into the great Yin energy gathering formation and scanned the two bats with his primordial spirit, getting a clear picture of their physical condition. Although they were bats, their meridians were similar to human bodies. There were many places in their bodies that were blocked. These blocked meridians greatly reduced the speed at which they could absorb the power of Yin. He took out the needle bag from his pocket and pierced the silver needles into Korkina and Avril's bodies one by one, using the green with genuine qi to open up the blocked meridians. About 10 minutes later, he waved his hand and withdrew all the silver needles. At this moment, the speed at which the two vampires absorbed the power of Yin suddenly increased by several times. They were like two exhaust hoods with a cheat code. In the blink of an eye, the power of Yin was completely absorbed. Under this rapid absorption, after only an hour, Avril's 2 wings had completely turned gold. She had entered the level of vampire prince. As for Corkina, except for her head, the rest of her body had turned gold. She had forcibly risen from the early stage of prince to the middle stage of prince. Now she could completely match an expert in the middle stage of the saint realm. At the same time, the bodies of the 2 bats had almost doubled in size. Seeing that it was about time, Qin Haodong stopped the gathering formation. Corkina and Avril ended their state of cultivation and transformed back into human forms. Master, why did you stop? If I had cultivated a little longer, I would have reached the level of vampire queen. Corkina said with an unresigned look on her face. The feeling of rapid cultivation just now was simply too refreshing. Although Avril did not say anything, her eyes flashed with excitement. Clearly, she was still not satisfied with her rank. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "There is an old saying in Huaxia that more haste, less speed. You have improved too much today. The speed of absorption is too fast, and your body's strength can't keep up. If you continue to cultivate at this speed, I'm afraid you'll explode and die before you can become a vampire queen." Only then did Corkina calm down from her excitement. She examined herself again and confirmed that her body had indeed reached its limit. This scared her so much that she broke out in a cold sweat. If Qin Haodong had not stopped in time, she and her daughter would have been killed by the strong Tai Yin Qi. "Thank you, master." The 2 vampire princes bowed to Qin Haodong to thank him. "Don't worry. You've improved too quickly this time. I'll help you improve again after you've digested it." Qin Haodong said, "Avril is now a prince. Let her take over the Philip family." "Yes, master. We'll do it now," Corkina said confidently. The Philip family was the most powerful of the 6 vampire families. Even though Prince Philip had been killed by Qin Haodong, there were still more than a dozen powerful Grand Dukes. With Avril's previous strength, it was impossible for her to control the whole family. But now it was different. She had become a vampire prince. In the dark world, strength meant everything. Besides, she had Corkina behind her. Now, apart from the vampire queen, Corkina could be said to be the strongest among the vampires. She was definitely more powerful than the other princes. Corkina took Avril and flew toward the vampires. Qin Haodong returned to the villa alone. It was almost midnight. The light in Shi Yumi's room was still on, but he did not go there. Instead, he returned to his room alone. Although this woman had always been affectionate to him, Qin Haodong had a feeling that he could not see through her. Because of this, he just took Corkina and her daughter outside to improve their cultivation. He did not want to expose too much in front of Shi Yumi. He sat in the chair and pondered for a while. He had not found the alien demon yet, so he did not know how strong they were. But the Emperor God and the Vampire Queen in front of him were much stronger than him. Now he had to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. But he had used up all the upper-level spirit stones in the 12 zodiacs, so it would not be easy to improve his cultivation. Thinking of this, he took out Kim Ji-hyun's map from the storage ring. Maybe only by finding the ancient relic could he make further progress. He took the map and studied it carefully, but after a long time, he still could not figure out where it was. It seemed that there was no such place in Huaxia. "Master, you're back." At this time, Lev brought a cup of coffee and respectfully handed it to him. "Yes." Qin Haodong nodded. He trusted the golden-haired Wolf King, who had signed a master-servant contract, so he did not put the map away. Lev put the coffee on the desk, glanced at the map in front of Qin Haodong, and said, "Boss, isn't this the map of the Crow Grand Canyon? Are you going to travel there?" "I tell you, there is nothing interesting there except a large number of crows." Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "Do you know this map, Lev?" Lev said, "Of course I do. I was a geological survey engineer before my awakening, so I know the terrain and geology of all of Europe very well. After my awakening, I had to face the endless pursuit of the divine court every day, so I naturally had to study where to escape to. I dare not say anything else, but I'm afraid no one in the Western world is more familiar with maps than me, so I know where it is at a glance. This place in the central circle is called the Crow Grand Canyon. I have been there in the process of escaping. It is a very desolate place, and there is nothing but countless crows. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. He didn't expect Lei Fu to recognize his map. Where is the Crow Grand Canyon? How far is it from here? Lev said, not too far, about 400 or 500 kilometers away. If Master wants to go, we can get there in a day. Qin Haodong was hesitating about whether he should rush there with Lev overnight. Suddenly, his expression changed as he sensed a huge energy coming from the west. Lo also sensed that something was amiss. The two of them hurried to the courtyard and looked to the west. Although it was far away, they could still see a powerful blood-red aura rising into the sky from the Grand Duke's mansion, covering the entire west. This energy was so powerful that a single glance at it would fill anyone with fear. Lev cried out in shock, "This is the aura of the vampire queen, Sharapova. She actually came to the Grand Duke's mansion. It seems that the Holy Virgin of the Divine Court is in trouble." Qin Haodong frowned. The aura of the vampire queen was comparable to that of a late-stage saint. Even the red-robed archbishops and the holy knights of the Divine Court could not resist it together. He was hesitating about whether he should go and help Cathaway. Suddenly, another huge aura of light rose from the Grand Duke's mansion. The aura was even stronger than that of the vampire queen. Lev exclaimed again, "Divine Emperor. This is the aura of Divine Emperor Ridgecard. I didn't expect him to come here. Didn't they say that the Divine Emperor would not easily leave the holy city?" Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. After all, Cathaway was a friend of his. He could not just watch her be killed by the dark world of the West. However, the power shown by the vampire queen was not something that he could match at the moment. It was the best result that the Divine Emperor could arrive at the critical moment. Then, the sounds of killing rose from the Grand Duke's mansion. The people of the Divine Court and the Dark World were fighting. The divine aura of the Divine Emperor and the blood aura of the Vampire Queen were constantly entangled, making earth-shattering noises from time to time. The fight went on for a full hour. Suddenly, the aura of light on the Divine Court's side soared and quickly suppressed the blood aura of the Vampire Queen. Lev cried, "This should be the Divine Emperor launching God's favor. It seems that Sharapova has lost again." Over the years, the Divine Court and the Dark World had fought many times. In the end, Sharapova had been defeated by the Divine Emperor Ridgecard's favor. Sure enough, the blood aura on the Dark World side was quickly suppressed by the aura of light and eventually disappeared. Seeing that there was no more excitement to watch, Qin Haodong was about to go back to sleep. At this moment, a red blood light streaked across the sky and quickly arrived in front of his manor. This speed was simply too fast. Immediately after, a great sense of danger assaulted him. Qin Haodong had just tightened his muscles, but before he could react, a woman in gorgeous clothes had appeared in front of him. She hurriedly cried, "Boy, find a place to hide me, or I will tear you apart immediately." Qin Haodong looked at the woman and found that she was the kind of plump. She was a model of buttocks, the type that would make any man feel a primal impulse when he saw her. At this time, the woman was covered in blood, and there was a deep bloody hole on her left shoulder. The outside was shrouded in a strong aura of light. It was obvious that she had been injured by the people of the Divine Court. "Are you the Vampire Queen?" Qin Haodong soon understood what was going on. The only expert who could reach this level was the Vampire Queen, Sharapova. It seemed that she had fled here after being seriously injured by the Divine Emperor. Sharapova looked back nervously and cried, "Boy, don't talk nonsense. Find a place to hide me, or no one will survive when Ridgecard comes." Qin Haodong originally did not want to get involved in the battle between the Divine Emperor and the Vampire Queen, but he saw Sharapova's fierce eyes. If he refused, she would immediately kill him and Leviticus. After hesitating for a moment, he pointed to a cardboard box next to him and said, "Hide there." Sharapova's eyes were full of fierceness. "Boy, you are playing with me. Do you want to die?" Qin Haodong said, "How dare I provoke you? When the Divine Emperor comes, it's useless no matter how well you hide. It's better to be above board. I have a way to ensure that he won't find you." Sharapova originally wanted to say something, but she felt the rising aura of light behind her. The Divine Emperor was about to arrive. "Boy, I hope you keep your word. Otherwise, if I am found, you will be the first to be killed." After saying that, Sharapova turned into a blood-red bat and flew into the cardboard box. Chapter 844. Qin Haodong flicked his index finger and quickly set up an aura-concealing restriction to seal the cardboard box. Just as he finished all this, the aura of light suddenly flourished behind him, and an old white man in splendid clothes appeared behind him. Seeing this man, Lei Fu's body could not help but tremble slightly. He remembered that Qin Haodong had said that he had a concealing formation on his body. Even if the Divine Emperor came in person, he would not be able to find him, so he barely calmed down. The old white man was the head of the Divine Court, Divine Emperor Ridgecard. Unlike Sharapova's flirtatiousness, Ridgecard exuded a sacred aura, which made people involuntarily feel awe from the bottom of their hearts when they saw him. He wore the crown of God on his head and a golden silk imperial robe unique to the Divine Emperor. He held a very short staff in his hand, which was the supreme holy object of the Divine Court, God's favor. Qin Haodong instantly felt the power of God's favor. It was worthy of being the holy object of the Divine Court, containing extremely powerful light power. He looked away from God's favor and shifted his gaze to Ridgecard's face. He was slightly stunned at first, then a flash of surprise. His expression was as if he had suddenly seen delicious food after starving for a long time. His eyes were fixed on the crown of God on the Divine Emperor's head. The reason why he lost his composure was that the crown of God was inlaid with a pearl the size of a pigeon's egg. This pearl was a priceless treasure in the eyes of ordinary people, but it was completely different for a cultivator. This was because it was a top-grade spirit stone, which was 100 times purer than the top-grade crystal in the bronze head of the 12 zodiac animals. He did not expect that there were not only top-grade spirit stones on Earth, but also rare treasures like the top-grade spirit stone. If Qin Haodong got this top-grade spirit stone now, he could immediately break through to the middle stage of the Yuanying realm or even higher. Seeing the young man in front of him staring at him, Divine Emperor Ridgecard said, "Young man, what are you looking at?" Qin Haodong came to his senses. Ridgecard was the Divine Emperor, so what he needed was the aura of light. He had no interest in the top-grade spirit stone. Just as he did not need the divine hexagram, Ridgecard did not need the top-grade spirit stone. It was just a decoration on his head. It was inevitable to get this top-grade spirit stone, but he did not want to alarm Ridgecard in advance. He put on a greedy expression and said, "Sir, I see that the gemstone on your hat is particularly beautiful. It must be worth a lot of money, right?" Ridgecard was slightly stunned and said, "Young man, the Lord said that money and treasures are fleeting. Don't be blinded by them." Qin Haodong said, "Sir, I'm just a layman. I'm not as noble as you. I just like these vulgar things. I really like the bead on your hat. How about selling it to me? You can name your price." Ridgecard didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had ruled the West for so long, but this was the first time someone wanted to buy the jewel on his crown of gods. "Young man, my jewel is one with the hat. I'm not selling it." "Sir, you just said that these are just fleeting clouds. Since you don't care, then sell it to me. If you can't bear to take it apart, then sell it to me together with the hat. I'll definitely give you a satisfactory price." Ridgecard shook his head and no longer paid attention to Qin Haodong's topic. He asked, "Young man, did you just see a woman running here, or did you see a strange bat flying over?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "No, I've been sitting here looking at the stars. I didn't see anyone coming." Ridgecard frowned slightly. With his ability, he was extremely sensitive to Sharapova's aura. He knew that she had fled here and disappeared here. How could she suddenly disappear? Young man, to tell you the truth, I am Ridgecard, the Divine Emperor of the Divine Court. I am hunting down a member of the Blood Clan who has escaped. She is the legendary vampire. If I can't capture her, she will probably suck you dry. You are the Divine Emperor. I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. Qin Haodong put on a look of admiration and said, Divine Emperor, I really didn't see any woman, nor did I see a vampire bat. Since that thing is so dangerous, I beg you to take her away quickly. Otherwise, I won't dare to go out at night in the future. Ridgecard was dubious about his words, but after glancing around the yard, he still did not feel the aura of the vampire. Just then, two more figures galloped over. They were the red-clothed high priest, Alex, and Balderrama. After the two men saw Ridgecard, they said respectfully, Greetings, Your Majesty. Ridgecard asked, Have you found any traces of Sharapova nearby? Alice said, Your Majesty, we didn't see her shadow. Ridgecard said with regret, Sharapova is really cunning. She was seriously injured, but I didn't expect her to escape again. Balderrama said, She can only escape for a while. With Divine Emperor here, she will be killed sooner or later. Alex glanced at Qin Haodong next to her and said, Divine Emperor, this is Dr. Qin Haodong, whom I reported to you. He cured the Holy Virgin's illness. Oh. So this is Mr. Qin. Ridgecard looked at Qin Haodong again. A red-clothed high priest and a holy knight of the divine court had all become Huaxia people. According to the report, they all had more or less contact with this young man, so he immediately re-examined this seemingly ordinary Huaxia man. He said, Young man, thank you for saving our Holy Virgin. Qin Haodong said, Mr. Divine Emperor, it's nothing. I'm a doctor. It's my duty to treat patients. Ridgecard said, You're not arrogant or rash. Very good young man. Are you in the mood to join our divine court, become a servant of the Lord of God, and bask in the glory of God together? Envy flashed across Alex and Balderrama's faces. In their memory, this was the first time that the Divine Emperor had invited someone to join the divine court. It was definitely a supreme glory. Qin Haodong did not think so. What he wanted now was the top-grade spirit stone on the divine crown. As for glory and the like, it was all fleeting. Mr. Divine Emperor, I'm just a layman. I prefer to be a doctor. Speaking of this, his expression changed. But if you give me the jewel on your hat, I can consider joining. Hearing his words, Alex's beautiful big eyes suddenly widened. Someone dared to ask for the jewel on the divine crown. Wasn't this crazy? That's really a pity. Ridgecard shook his head and continued, Dr. Qin, I've heard something about you. Since you don't want to join the divine court, that's fine. But I also don't want you to get too close to those people in the dark world. Don't worry. I won't join the divine court, nor will I join the dark council. I'm a Huaxia person. I'm not interested in your Western affairs. That's for the best. Ridgecard looked at Qin Haodong with a deep gaze and said, I heard that you recommended Shen Fugui to Alex. How do you know that he will be recognized by the Holy Cross sword? Qin Haodong said, Who can say for sure about this kind of thing? I just think that Shen Fugui completely meets the requirements of a paladin that Alex mentioned, so I let him try. I didn't expect him to succeed. Two Huaxia people had appeared in the divine court one after another. It was impossible for Ridgecard not to be suspicious, but he couldn't believe that it was the Huaxia person in front of him. After all, even he couldn't control the sacred weapon of the divine court. It was impossible for a Huaxia person without any holy power to do so. Dr. Qin, I really hope that we can be friends forever and not enemies. After Ridgecard finished speaking, he left with Alex and Balderrama. After these people were far away, Lo breathed a sigh of relief and exclaimed, It's really scary. As the Golden Wolf King of the Dark World, it was the first time that he had been in such close contact with someone from the divine court. The powerful divine aura of Ridgecard's body almost made him breathless. He had been standing quietly at the side just now. He didn't even dare to breathe loudly, let alone speak. He was afraid that he would expose his identity. Not only would he lose his life, but he would also bring trouble to Qin Haodong. At this time, the cardboard box next to him turned into a mass of powder with a snap. Sharapova once again turned into a beautiful woman and appeared in front of the two men. "Boy, how did you do it? You even deceived the Divine Emperor, Ridgecard?" She had been so nervous just now that she was afraid that she would be attacked by the Divine Emperor if she didn't pay attention. But in the end, Ridgecard didn't feel her existence, which made her feel lucky and a little puzzled at the same time. Qin Haodong said, "It's nothing. It's just a small trick. It's just some small magic from the east." Sharapova's eyes wandered and she said in a charming voice, "Huaxia man, tell me your secret skill. You can make any conditions you want. I can even agree to sleep with you." As a member of the Dark Clan, she had realized how precious Qin Haodong's skill was. As long as they learned it, they could get rid of the endless pursuit of the Divine Court in the future. Although Sharapova's performance was very tempting, Qin Haodong would not be interested in such an old bat who had lived for thousands of years. "I'm sorry, this is the Tao of the East. Even if I teach you, you won't be able to learn it because you don't have magic power." "I see." Sharapova didn't doubt Qin Haodong's words. The East had always been a very mysterious place. There were magic and martial arts that were completely different from those in the West. She licked her delicate red lips and said, "Since you are of no use to me, let's settle the score. I heard that you killed my Prince Philip of the Blood Clan and killed the great wizard Sisei with the people of the Divine Court. What do you think I should do with you?" As she spoke, her eyes released a fierce murderous intent. As the vampire queen, she had a resilience beyond the imagination of ordinary people. She had just gotten rid of Ridgecard's holy power in the cardboard box and healed the injury on her shoulder. Sensing Sharapova's killing intent, Lo immediately tightened his muscles and was ready to fight after going berserk at any time. Qin Haodong said calmly, "Miss Sharapova, if you want to settle the score, you should thank me. If it weren't for me, you would have been purified by the Divine Emperor." "Ha, ha, ha," Sharapova let out a burst of tender laughter. She laughed so hard that the two towering peaks on her chest were trembling incessantly. "Ridiculous Huaxia man. You may not know, but we vampires always take revenge and never repay kindness. But for the sake of your handsome looks, I can make you my direct descendant and let you follow the queen forever." After saying that, her expression changed, revealing two sharp canine teeth. Chapter 845. "Boy, you should feel honored. There are not many people who can get the embrace from me. Soon, you will become a prince of the Blood Clan." Sharapova was about to make a move. Qin Haodong did not panic in the face of the vampire queen at all. He said calmly, "I can help you defeat the emperor." What did you say?" Sharapova's sharp fingers almost pinched Qin Haodong's neck, but she stopped abruptly. It was no wonder that she was so excited. Ever since Ridgecard had obtained God's blessing, she and the dark world had been firmly suppressed all these years. There were a few times when they were on the brink of death. There was no chance of victory. Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I said I can help you defeat the emperor." Sharapova cried, "Boy, are you lying to me? Although you have some skills, you are not on the same level as me and Ridgecard. I can do it when I say I can. Although my strength is not as good as yours, I have other means, such as ensuring that you were not discovered by him just now." Upon hearing this, Sharapova immediately believed him a little, but she still said with a gloomy expression, "Boy, don't lie, or you won't even have the chance to be a vampire. I will twist your head off and kick it like a ball." Qin Haodong said, "Of course I won't lie, but I have conditions." Sharapova cried, "You dare to ask me for conditions? Believe it or not, I will kill you now." "I don't believe it." Qin Haodong still looked calm. I can tell you for sure that no one in this world can help you defeat Ridgecard except me. I can help you escape this time, but I'm afraid you will be purified next time. These words hit the nail on the head of Sharapova. As long as there was a little hope of defeating the Emperor, she would never give up. Tell me, what conditions do you want? Qin Haodong said, I want the hat on Ridgecard's head. Sharapova was slightly surprised. She thought the young man would ask for money and beautiful women. She did not expect him to ask for the hat of the Emperor. After a moment of shock, she seemed to think of something and asked, do you want to take over the position of the Emperor? Qin Haodong shook his head and said, you think too much. I have no interest in the Emperor God. I just want that hat. I think it's very beautiful. Sharapova stared at Qin Haodong coldly, but in the end, she could not see anything. However, she did not care about the hat. What she cared about was how to defeat Ridgecard. Tell me, how can you help me defeat the Divine Emperor? Qin Haodong said, your strength is not much different from Ridgecard's. I have a way to improve your strength and suppress the Emperor's strength at the same time, so that you can defeat him. Sharapova said excitedly, are you sure you can do it? Qin Haodong said, at that time, I will stand with you and fight. If I fail, I will also die. Naturally, I won't joke about this kind of thing. All right, I'll believe you this once. Tell me, when do we make our move? Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, tomorrow night, when the moon rises. He had a plan in mind. If he helped Sharapova defeat the Divine Emperor tonight, then he would not be able to defend Grand Duke Andrei's mansion. At that time, Cathaway would definitely die in the hands of the vampires, which was not what he wanted to see. Sure enough, Sharapova said with annoyance, why tomorrow night? Can't we do it today? If I can defeat Ridgecard tonight, I can kill the Holy Virgin as well. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, you think it's easy to defeat the Emperor God? I need enough time to prepare. Otherwise, what if I fall short of success? Anyway, vampires did not understand formations, so he would not give himself away no matter what he said. No one knew better than Sharapova how terrible the Emperor God was. She did not have any doubts and said, well, it's a deal. I'll come to you tomorrow night. Qin Haodong said with a smile, happy cooperation. Sharapova seemed to think of something. Don't think about running away. Otherwise, even if I chase you to Huaxia, I will suck you dry. At the same time, no one around you will be left alive. Qin Haodong shook his head and said with a smile, don't worry, I won't run away. I haven't got what I want yet. Sharapova glared at him, then turned around and flew away. She had been injured by the Emperor God tonight and was not as relaxed as she looked. It just so happened that she needed some time to go back and recuperate. After the vampire queen left, Lei Fu said, Master, we finally succeeded in deceiving this woman. Let's get out of here as soon as possible. The Emperor God and the vampire queen are both here. It's too dangerous. When did I deceive her? Qin Haodong said with a playful smile, I really want to get the Emperor God's hat. Lei Fu said anxiously, but the Emperor God is too powerful. It's impossible to defeat him. Qin Haodong said, don't worry, I have enough confidence. Get ready. After we finish this, we'll go to the Crow Grand Canyon. After that, the two returned to the villa. He glanced at Shiyumi's room. The light was out, and it seemed that she had fallen asleep. The next day, Qin Haodong went to the small valley again in the evening. He threw out the formation flags in his hand one by one and set up a super large essence gathering formation. Then he set up a maze, an illusion, and a defense formation. After all this was done, the sun set on the horizon and night slowly fell, covering the entire valley. When the moon had just risen, a golden shadow quickly crossed the sky and appeared in front of Qin Haodong in the blink of an eye, transforming into the appearance of Sharapova. After seeing Qin Haodong, she asked, Boy, how are your preparations going? I'm ready. Now you just need to lead Ridgecard here, and then I can help you defeat him. Qin Haodong said confidently. I hope you're not lying to me, or you'll die miserably. After Sharapova finished speaking, she let out a sharp whistle. This was an order for the entire Dark Council to launch an all-out attack. After the scream, countless dark creatures emerged from the night. The Vampire Prince, the Golden Fur Wolf King, and the Dark Wizard gathered together and surged toward Grand Duke Andrea's mansion like a tide in the night. In the Grand Duke's mansion, when the sun set, Cathaway's whole body turned transparent, like a doll carved from jade. The Holy Maiden's awakening was officially completed. Next, she only needed to wait for the approval of the angel's heart. After the news came out, there was a burst of cheers in the Grand Duke's mansion. All the clergymen breathed a sigh of relief. In their opinion, the Holy Maiden's awakening had been completed, and the Dark Clan would definitely not come to harass them again. Ridgecard thought the same. Originally, he wanted to order everyone to celebrate, but before he could say anything, he heard Sharapova's whistle. Then, countless bats appeared in the night sky, and the howls of wolves rang in his ears. Damn it, is she crazy? Ridgecard did not expect the Dark Clan to launch an attack at this time and could not help but swear. The others were also surprised. They did not know the meaning of the Dark Council's attack at this time. Alex said to Ridgecard, "Your Majesty, I always feel that things are a little strange. Logically speaking, the Holy Maiden has completed her awakening, so the Dark Council should not launch an attack anymore. However, their current offensive is more fierce than before. Is there any conspiracy?" Balderrama said, "Who cares about that? Anyway, with Your Majesty in charge, they can't set off any waves." He originally wanted to flatter Ridgecard, but Ridgecard said with a gloomy face, "I also think something is wrong. How about this? You lead a team to escort the Holy Maiden back to Holy City immediately. I'll go and keep Sharapova busy." In his opinion, as long as he kept the Vampire Queen occupied, the other dark creatures would not be a match for the people of the Holy Court. "Yes, Your Majesty." Alex agreed and immediately organized the people of the Holy Court to escort Cathaway out of the Grand Duke's mansion and rush in the direction of Holy City. Ridgecard rose into the air with the staff in his hand and went to meet the Vampire Queen, Sharapova. After seeing the Divine Emperor, Sharapova shouted, "Ridgecard, you hurt me yesterday. Today, I will suck you dry." Ridgecard said, "You escaped yesterday. I don't know if you will have such good luck today." Sharapova let out a shrill cry. She spread open her claws and pounced on the Emperor God. Her speed was so fast that she looked like a shadow that was gliding past. "Do you want to die?" The Divine Emperor flicked his finger, and a beam of holy light shot out. Compared to Alice and the others, this beam of holy light was 10 times thicker, and its power was even more astonishing. Sharapova had fought with Ridgecard for so many years and already had a wealth of combat experience. When the holy light approached her body, she suddenly turned sideways, slid past the holy light, and pounced on Ridgecard again. Ridgecard snorted coldly and waved the god's favor in his hand. He quickly drew a huge light curtain in front of him and shone it toward Sharapova. The god's favor was a divine weapon of the Holy Court. Once it was used, its power was incomparable. It was not something a vampire's body could resist. Sharapova twisted her body in mid-air and fled back at top speed. Ridgecard felt that today's events were a little strange. He did not chase after her from behind. Instead, he covered the Holy Court's team as they moved in the direction of Holy City. Sharapova saw that the Divine Emperor was not fooled. If she could not lead him to the small valley, she would not be able to succeed, so she turned around and attacked. After repeating this several times in a row, Ridgecard was completely enraged. "Sharapova, it seems that you are determined to let me kill you today." This time, he did not stop. Instead, he chased after Sharapova. Both of them were experts at the late stage of the Saint Realm. Their speed was amazing, and they arrived at the small valley in just a few minutes. Seeing Qin Haodong standing in the valley, Ridgecard was slightly stunned. Then, he said, "Young man, you still defected to the Covenant of Darkness. I'm really disappointed. Qin Haodong smiled and said, I won't defect it to anyone. This is just a temporary cooperation with them. Richcard held the god's favor in his hand and proudly said, I know that you must have laid a trap to lure me here by all means. But in the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy or trick is useless. I advise you to surrender early and become God's servants. Qin Haodong smiled and said, Your Majesty, people who are too confident are arrogant. Today, I will show you the magic of our East. After saying that, he gently cast a spell, and the lunar essence gathering array was officially activated. This was a huge array. When the array was activated, the moon in the sky suddenly brightened, and a silver-white light curtain quickly shrouded the entire small valley. Chapter 846. Richcard frowned. As the Divine Emperor, he naturally did not like the rich lunar chi. Sharapova was indeed surprised and overjoyed. The dense lunar chi made every pore in her body feel extremely comfortable. Both her defense and battle prowess had increased exponentially. She even imagined that if she could cultivate in such an environment every day, she would have long become an existence surpassing the Divine Emperor and unifying the entire Western world. Yesterday, when Qin Haodong said that he could help her defeat the Divine Emperor, she was still skeptical. Now, she was completely convinced. In such an environment, she was completely confident that she could defeat Richcard. She knew that the opportunity was rare and fleeting. She let out a soul-shaking scream and flew into the air. Richcard naturally would not sit still. He raised his hand and shot out a beam of holy light as usual. However, he was surprised to find that this beam of holy light was much weaker than before. It was not even comparable to the high priest in red. Only then did he realize that the rich lunar chi here not only nourished Sharapova, but also suppressed his holy power. Sharapova's sharp claws collided with this beam of holy light and instantly shattered it. Although it also left a little charred mark on her palm, it was instantly recovered by the rich lunar chi. Fighting in this kind of environment, her recovery ability was too strong. Seeing that Sharapova's sharp claws were getting closer and closer to him, Richcard's eyes flashed with panic. He raised God's favor in his hand. Finally, God's favor once again emitted a rich holy light curtain, repelling Sharapova. However, Richcard did not dare to relax, because he found that the damage caused by the holy light to Sharapova in such an environment was very small. She quickly recovered. At the same time, God's favor was an artifact that absorbed and transformed holy power. The holy light curtain it emitted now was almost 1/3 of the holy power stored inside. In the past, it would have been replenished almost instantly after it was consumed. However, in such an environment, the replenishment of holy power was extremely weak and could not make up for the loss from the previous blow. Under such circumstances, he was at a complete disadvantage. Richcard was shocked. He did not know how this Huaxia person had done it, but he knew that he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, he would definitely suffer a great loss. However, before he could take a step, Sharapova fiercely pounced on him again. Damn it! Richcard had no choice but to raise God's blessing again and use the holy power inside. However, it was clear that the effect this time was far inferior to the previous time. Although the light barrier formed by the holy light blocked Sharapova outside, it was unable to repel her. The two of them were in a stalemate. However, this stalemate would only last for a short period of time, because the holy light was being consumed less and less, and Sharapova's battle prowess was becoming stronger and stronger under the nourishment of the power of Yin. Qin Haodong had been standing outside and watching quietly. He was very satisfied with the result he had caused. Seeing that the Divine Emperor had no time to deal with Sharapova, he raised his hand and shot out the Shenyuan sword. If he made a killing move at this time, even if Richcard did not die, he would inevitably be seriously injured. However, this was not what he wanted. What he wanted was the top-grade spirit stone on the divine crown. Feeling the murderous aura of the Shenyuan sword, Richcard was scared out of his wits. But then he was surprised to find that the sword only passed through his head and took away the crown of God without causing him any harm. Even so, while he was distracted, the light barrier was instantly pierced by Sharapova, and her claws clawed at his heart. In his battles with Sharapova over the years, Ridgecard had always firmly held the upper hand and had never been in such a sorry state. He hurriedly leaned to the side and tried his best to avoid the claw, but it was too late. The vampire queen's sharp claws tore a piece of flesh from his shoulder. "Just you wait, the divine master will punish you sooner or later." After being injured, Ridgecard let out a roar and then urged the remaining holy light in God's blessed. After a burst of light, he instantly disappeared from the lunar essence gathering formation. Ha! 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 Sharapova held Ridgecard's piece of flesh in her hand and looked extremely excited. "Ridgecard, I finally defeated you." After saying that, her figure also disappeared from the lunar essence gathering formation. She was not satisfied with this kind of victory. Killing Ridgecard was her ultimate goal. Qin Haodong no longer cared about this. His goal was not to kill the Divine Emperor. Otherwise, Ridgecard would not even have a chance to escape. He raised his hand to stop the lunar essence gathering formation and played with the divine crown in his hand. Feeling the rich spiritual power emitted by the supreme-grade spirit stone, the nascent soul in his body began to stir. However, he knew that now was not the time to cultivate. Once Ridgecard escaped from the lunar essence gathering formation, Sharapova would not be able to deal with him. At least, it would be more than enough for him to escape. Sure enough, it did not take long for Sharapova to fly back. She circled around outside but could not find Ridgecard's shadow. "Boy, how did you do it just now? Tell me, how did you make the moonlight so rich?" As she spoke, her eyes flashed with a greedy light. As long as she mastered this method, she would be able to cultivate in the Tai Yin essence gathering formation every day. Even if the Divine Emperor escaped, it would still be a matter of time before they conquered the holy city. Of course, Qin Haodong did not want to break the balance of the Western world. As a human, he did not want the dark creatures to rule the world. He said, "This is our Eastern magic, called the lunar essence gathering formation. Only I can use this formation. It's useless even if I tell you." Sharapova certainly did not want to let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She said, "Then you stay and cooperate with me. When I completely control the Western world, I will make you the Divine Emperor of the Divine Court. At that time, you will have endless money and beautiful women. You can have whatever you want." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "The cooperation between us is over. I am just a doctor. I don't want to get involved in the disputes of the Western world." "Boy, you really don't know what's good for you. It seems that I have to make you my descendant." As she spoke, Sharapova's eyes flashed. At this moment, Qin Haodong was more precious than the most precious treasure in her eyes. As long as she controlled this person, it was equivalent to having the lunar essence gathering formation. Her cultivation speed would be rapid. Qin Haodong did not panic at all. He said calmly, "Although I don't want to interfere in the fights of the Western world, you'd better not become my enemy. Otherwise, the consequences will be very miserable. Huaxia boy, you're so arrogant. Just wait to become the glorious descendant of my blood clan." Sharapova showed her two sharp canine teeth and pounced on Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong had already figured out the temper of this vampire queen. She was a capricious person, so he had long been prepared. With a thought, the dragon trapping formation that had been set before was instantly activated. Sharapova was about to give Qin Haodong the embrace, but she suddenly found herself in the fog. She was surrounded by white fog, so thick that she could hardly see her fingers. But Qin Haodong was nowhere to be seen. "Huaxia man, do you think this kind of trick will work on me? When I get out, I can also break your neck." Sharapova was very confident. She knew that this was Qin Haodong's Eastern magic, but as long as she flew out, the magic would completely lose its effect. After saying that, she turned into a golden bat, spread her wings and flew out. But after flying for a full 5 minutes, she was still in the fog. She could not see any light at all, nor did she leave the range of the formation. What was going on? Sharapova was a little flustered. According to her speed, 5 minutes was enough to fly dozens of kilometers. Why was she still not out of the formation? She sped up and flew forward, but the result was the same. She was still surrounded by thick fog. Qin Haodong stood outside the formation and looked at the vampire queen who was struggling desperately inside. He couldn't help but sneer. If the dragon trapping formation could be broken so easily, it would not be called dragon trapping formation. Once the formation was activated, it reversed the 5 elements in the sky. Sharapova felt that she was flying in one direction, but in fact, she was constantly circling in the formation. Naturally, it was impossible for her to fly out. Sharapova had lived for thousands of years and naturally had rich combat experience. When she found that something was wrong, she immediately stopped. Since she could not fly out, she could only break it by force. She used all her strength, raised her 2 invincible palms, and grabbed at the void around her. As a vampire queen, her strength was comparable to that of a late-stage saint. When she exerted all her strength, she immediately set off a huge vortex in the formation, blowing away the fog. But soon she found that it was useless. As soon as the fog went up, it was immediately filled up again, and soon it returned to the previous situation where she could not see her fingers. Seeing that she could not break through here after trying several methods, Sharapova cried, "Qin Haodong, I know you are nearby. Let me go now, and we'll write it off. Otherwise, when I get out, I'll definitely twist your head off." Qin Haodong said lightly, "You vampires really have no credibility. If I let you go, I'll be the unlucky one. Stay here, I'm leaving." After saying that, he really turned around and left, speeding in the direction of the villa. With his current cultivation, he could trap a master like Sharapova, but he could not kill her completely. His top priority was to seize the time to improve his cultivation. And he was very clear that after losing control of the dragon trapping formation, it would not take long for Sharapova to break it. He had to make use of this time to go as far as possible. When he returned to the villa, Lo was already ready in an off-road jeep. When Qin Haodong sat in the passenger seat, he immediately started the car and drove in the direction of the Raven Grand Canyon. For tonight, Qin Haodong had already made sufficient preparations. He asked Shi Yumi to return to Huaxia by plane and then left with Lo. 3 or 4 hours after they left, the Dark Clan, who had failed to attack the Divine Court, retreated and found Sharapova's location. The dragon trapping formation could trap people, but it could not trap sound. Sharapova gave an order to her subordinates outside, and they cooperated to attack the dragon trapping formation. Without control, the dragon trapping formation's power was greatly reduced. Half an hour later, with a loud bang, it was finally broken. After Sharapova broke free, she roared angrily, "Qin Haodong, I'll kill you." After saying that, she rushed to the villa area where Qin Haodong was with all her subordinates of the Dark Council, but it was already empty, not even a mouse was left. Cunning Huaxia people. The angry Sharapova and her people razed the entire villa to the ground, but the anger in her heart was still not vented. Wolf, the werewolf patriarch next to her, asked, "Mr. President, can you tell us what happened?" Sharapova calmed down and told them about how she had cooperated with Qin Haodong to defeat Ridgecard. Chapter 847. Oh my God, Honorable Speaker, you defeated Ridgecard. That's so great, Honorable Speaker, you are the glory of our dark world, Honorable Speaker, you are so great. You are my idol. Hearing that Sharapova had defeated Ridgecard, the dark creatures present were excited and cheered. For many years, they had been overwhelmed by the Divine Court. This was the first time they had won. Wolf King Lof said excitedly, "Honorable Speaker, should we go straight to the Holy City and wipe it out while the Divine Emperor is injured?" Korkina glanced at him and said, "You brainless guy, have you forgotten the divine healing technique of the Divine Court? As long as the Divine Emperor is not killed in one go, he will soon recover from his injury. Going now will only be courting death. As the speaker of the dark world, Sharapova naturally understood this. She said to the people around her, "What we have to do now is not to go to the holy city, but to return to where we belong as soon as possible. Get ready quickly. I believe the divine court will soon retaliate against us." After that, she left the empire of the unsetting sun with many dark creatures and rushed back to their lair. Qin Haodong and Lof arrived at the Crow Grand Canyon, found a suitable place to hide the car, and then walked in on foot. Caw. Caw, the caws of crows could be heard. Then, countless crows flew over their heads like a black cloud. They covered the sky and covered the sun. Qin Haodong followed the instructions on the map in his hand and quickly came to the east side of the canyon. Lof glanced at the map and said, "Master, is there something wrong with this map? It's empty here. What can there be?" Qin Haodong looked excited. He had already faintly felt the fluctuations of the formation here. It was obvious that a concealing formation had been set up at the location marked on the map, which had changed the scenery. He could also feel that the formation had been set up for many years and was showing signs of weakening. It seemed that this was an ancient relic. Since there was a formation, it meant that this was an ancient relic left by Eastern cultivators. At the same time, he had a little doubt. This was clearly the Western world. Why would there be Eastern cultivators leaving relics here? However, no one could give him an answer to this question. He could only search for it himself. At this time, Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to take action. He had entered countless ancient relics when he was in the cultivation world, and many of them were hidden with unknown dangers. He believed that this place was no exception. His top priority was to improve his cultivation. First, he brought Lo away from this place. They found a dry and secluded cave in a nearby mountain range. After sealing the cave entrance, he began to advance his cultivation. After setting up several formation restrictions, Qin Haodong sat cross-legged in the cave. Lei Fu guarded the entrance of the cave. Qin Haodong took out the divine crown, removed the spirit stone from it, and held it in his palm. As expected of a top-grade spirit stone, the spiritual energy it emitted was extremely rich, making every pore feel incomparably comfortable. He closed his eyes and slowly ran the green wood genuine qi. The spiritual qi in the cave immediately rushed into his body like rivers flowing into the sea. After the spiritual qi entered his body, it was immediately transformed into pure genuine qi, which was absorbed by the nascent soul. As time went by, the nascent soul grew bit by bit. After an unknown period of time, Qin Haodong woke up from his meditation and found that the spirit stone in his palm had turned into a mass of powder. He quickly looked at the nascent soul in his sea of consciousness. He saw that the nascent soul, which was originally only about 20 centimeters, had become extremely huge, about 1 meter long. Its facial features were clear and it was much more agile than before. It had reached the peak of the nascent soul middle stage, and was only one step away from the late stage of nascent soul. As long as the nascent soul grew to the same size as the body, it would reach the peak of nascent soul. "Master, you're awake." Seeing Qin Haodong stand up, Lei Fu immediately came over. Qin Haodong nodded and said, "Let's go and have a look there." The two of them went to the front of the relic again. The concealing formation here was not too difficult for them. Soon, the formation was broken, and a huge cave appeared in front of them. This, the input method of the East, is really amazing. Lo's mouth gaped open in shock. There had clearly been nothing here just a moment ago, yet such a large cave had suddenly appeared. Qin Haodong stepped toward the entrance of the cave. The cave was about 10 meters high and 5 meters wide, and looked extremely huge. The entrance was blocked by a huge rock, and there was a faint fluctuation of a formation. It seemed that if one could not find the way to enter the cave, no matter how high his cultivation was, he would not be able to force his way in. He had countless experience in entering the relic, so he began to search around the cave. Next to the cave entrance, he saw a man-made groove with a huge ancient Huaxia character on it. It was blood. The blood groove. Qin Haodong immediately understood that the door of the cave could only be opened with blood. He wondered if his blood could open the relic here. He cut his index finger with the Xian Yuan sword and dripped 3 drops of blood into the blood groove. Something strange happened. The drops of blood did not stay in the stone groove, and were instantly absorbed like a sponge in water. Then there was a wave of energy, and the huge rock that sealed the cave slowly slid to the side, revealing a gap about the size of 2 people. It worked. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. It seemed that his blood had worked, and he could successfully unlock the formation seal here. "Master, the cave is open," Lei Fu said as he excitedly walked into the cave, but as soon as he reached the entrance, he was bounced back by an invisible force. The force was so strong that even the Golden Fur Wolf King could not resist it, and it actually forced him back more than 10 meters. Fortunately, the formation was only set up to block, and not to kill. Otherwise, Lei Fu would have lost half his life even if he did not die. Lei Fu got up from the ground and patted the dust off his butt. "Master, you must be careful," he said. "This place is too strange." Qin Haodong came to the entrance of the cave, and the spiritual qi in his body revolved as he carefully walked forward, but nothing unusual happened until he entered the cave. "What's going on?" Seeing that Qin Haodong had entered without a hitch, Lei Fu followed, but as soon as he reached the entrance, he was once again bounced back by the invisible force. "Master, this place is so strange. Why won't you let me in?" Qin Haodong thought for a moment and immediately understood. "It seems that this is a formation set up by our ancestors in Huaxia. Only people of Huaxia can enter. You are a werewolf from the west, so naturally you are excluded." Well, Lo looked gloomy. "Go back first. Go to the cave we rested in yesterday. I'll come find you when I come out." Qin Haodong walked into the cave, and as he passed through the door, the rock moved slowly and sealed the cave again. The light in the cave was not too dim, and the walls were inlaid with glowing stones. He walked over to take a look and found that these stones were not night-luminescent pearls, but some unknown ore. He walked slowly into the cave, and after walking for about 10 meters, he suddenly heard a strange cry. Croak, croak, the sound sounded like the croak of a frog, but it was even louder than the roar of a cow. It was accompanied by echoes in the cave, and it was quite deafening. At the same time, Qin Haodong felt a great sense of danger. He quickly stopped. Every treasure must be guarded by a spirit beast, and it seemed that this place was no exception. As he glanced around, a black behemoth suddenly appeared in front of him. This thing was about the size of a small off-road vehicle. The skin on its body was full of bumps of various sizes. Its 2 huge front paws rested in front of its body, and its 2 eyes shone like headlights. Its mouth was open, and a tongue that was several meters long kept flicking in and out. Is this a toad?" Qin Haodong was quite surprised. Even in the cultivation world, he had never seen such a huge toad. And this toad was quite strange. It had 2 legs in front and only 1 on the back. It turned out to be a 3-legged golden toad. When the 3-legged golden toad saw Qin Haodong, its eyes flashed as if it had seen a delicious meal. Croak, with a muffled roar, the 3-legged golden toad fiercely rushed towards Qin Haodong. Its speed was amazing, and it was not inferior to that of a martial saint. Qin Haodong quickly moved his feet to the side, but he didn't expect that the 3-legged golden toad was so agile. Although its body rushed over, its tongue several meters long swept across the air. Damn it, did it think of me as a fly? Qin Haodong leaped over the tongue and jumped onto the back of Money Toad. Then, he punched it hard. After entering the middle nascent soul stage, his punch was enough to split a mountain, and even a real off-road vehicle would be smashed into a discus. However, such a powerful punch did not have any effect on the back of the 3-legged golden toad. This guy's defense was even more amazing than that of the Blood Clan. Moreover, this 3-legged golden toad was very intelligent, as if it knew that Qin Haodong was on its back. It jumped into the air and slammed into the top of the cave. Qin Haodong quickly jumped off the back of the golden cicada, but before his feet landed, the three-legged golden toad's python-like tongue swept over again. Damn it! Qin Haodong punched the golden toad's tongue and retreated with the force of the recoil. Originally, after reaching the middle nascent soul stage, he wanted to use the golden cicada to test his strength, so he didn't rush to take out the Xian Yuan sword. But this fight lasted for half an hour, and he didn't get the upper hand at all. It should be known that Qin Haodong practiced the cultivation method. Once he entered the middle nascent soul stage, he would be invincible in the same level, but with this cultivation, he couldn't take down a three-legged golden toad. It could be seen how powerful this thing was, and it was not inferior to any master in the Middle Saint realm. After fighting for a few more rounds, Qin Haodong gradually lost his patience. It seemed that without using the Xian Yuan sword, he couldn't break through the defense of the three-legged golden toad. Big guy, I didn't want to kill you, but you forced me to do this. Qin Haodong was very clear that a kind of spirit beast to cultivate to this level would probably take thousands of years, or even longer, but this guy was in front of him, and if he didn't kill it, he couldn't enter the ruins. As he spoke, he stretched out his right hand, and the golden Xian Yuan sword appeared in his palm. Quack! The three-legged golden toad was fighting excitedly. It was about to attack Qin Haodong again, but when it saw the Xian Yuan sword in his hand, its eyes immediately flashed with respect. Then it retracted its huge tongue and lay on the ground with a look of submission. Qin Haodong was quite surprised. Did this beast know the power of the Xian Yuan sword and was afraid of him? Just as he was puzzled, a light flashed in front of him, and a shadow appeared in the cave. It was the Yellow Emperor. Chapter 848. When Qin Haodong subdued the Xianyuan sword, he had seen the divine thought left by Emperor Huang Xianyuan, so he was no stranger to the shadow in front of him. At the same time, he was confused. Was this ancient site left by Emperor Huang Xianyuan? He was the originator of Huaxia. Why did he set the site in the west? The shadow in front of him was just the divine thought left by Emperor Huang Xianyuan many years ago. Naturally, it didn't know Qin Haodong. Young man, congratulations on subduing the three-legged golden toad. This divine thought was much more solid than the one in the Xianyuan sword. Qin Haodong asked, Senior Xianyuan, did you leave this three-legged golden toad? Emperor Huang Xianyuan said, that's right. When I traveled around, I found a spiritual beast bag in an ancient site. This three-legged golden toad was hatched from the spiritual beast bag. It has always been by my side. I left the site here. If one's cultivation is not high enough, it will definitely be a disaster for him. The three-legged golden toad is an ancient spiritual creature, comparable to the experts at the early stage of the Saint realm. I left it here as a barrier. Only by defeating the three-legged golden toad will you be qualified to move forward. If you can't, you can only retreat. Qin Haodong sighed secretly. It seemed that Emperor Huang Xianyuan didn't expect that someone would find this place after 5,000 years. The three-legged golden toad had grown from the early stage of the Saint realm to the peak of the middle stage of the Saint realm. How could ordinary people enter? He asked again, Senior Xianyuan, may I ask why you left your site in the west? Emperor Huang Xianyuan said, since you have conquered the three-legged golden toad, go on. When you get what I left behind, you will know all the secrets. After that, the shadow flashed and the divine thought disappeared. It seemed that this was not the final test. Qin Haodong continued to walk into the cave. After walking for another 20 or 30 meters, he turned a corner and found a stone house in front of him. The door of the stone house was closed. He came to the door and found that there was a very strong restriction in the stone house, which was much stronger than the one in front of the cave. There were a few simple ancient Huaxia characters engraved on the wall next to the stone house. Only members of the Xianyuan family can enter. Below the words, there was a palm print the size of a human hand, which contained a faint fluctuation of spiritual power. It seemed that this was also a test for those who came. The Xianyuan clan. It seemed like Emperor Huang Shenyuan wanted to use his inner force as a test. After figuring this out, Qin Haodong reached out and pressed his hand on the palm print. He slowly ran the Shenyuan heart skill and transferred his genuine qi to it. After the Zhen qi entered the palm print, there was a flash of light, and then the stone door issued a ka sound, and slowly opened to both sides. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Shenyuan heart skill was really the key to enter this stone room. From the moment he entered until now, Emperor Huang Shenyuan had set up 4 thresholds in succession. It seemed like he was extremely careful and did not know what exactly was left here. He walked into the stone house and looked around. The house was about 20 square meters in size. There were no decorations, and it was very simple. It seemed to have been dug out temporarily. In the middle of the stone house, there was a stone table. On the stone table, there were 2 wooden boxes, one big and one small. It was unknown what was inside. Just as Qin Haodong was about to walk over, a shadow flashed in the room, and the divine mind of Emperor Huang Shenyuan appeared again. "Welcome, my child." Junior Qin Haodong greets Senior Shenyuan. Qin Haodong bowed to the divine mind of Emperor Huang Shenyuan. Emperor Huang Shenyuan said, "Since you have passed the test I set, you are my descendant. In the future, you must do your duty to protect Huaxia and completely drive the alien demons out of our space." Qin Haodong asked, "Senior Shenyuan, why did you set the cave residence here? Does it have something to do with the alien demons?" "Yes, it does have something to do with the alien demons. Let me tell you slowly." Although Emperor Huang Shenyuan was only a shadow, he still sat down cross-legged and said to Qin Haodong, "The alien demons invaded and tried to slaughter all the humans here. They robbed our great rivers and mountains and caused the people of Huaxia to be in misery and suffering. With the cooperation of several major tribes in Huaxia, the alien demons who invaded our land were finally annihilated. But we found that only a part of the alien demons came to Huaxia, and there was a growing trend. So I came to the west to find the nest of the alien demons and the space loophole they invaded. It's definitely not a solution to resist these foreign races. In the end, we had to find a way to seal the space loophole again. When I came to the west, I found that this place was also invaded by the alien demons, and the situation was much more serious than in Huaxia. Moreover, most of the masters of the alien demons gathered here, so it is likely that the space loophole is in the west. When I came here on the sword, I happened to see the battle between the masters of the alien demons, the Western Divine Court and the Dark World. The battle was extremely fierce. The Divine Emperor of the Divine Court, Cain, the leader of the Blood Clan in the Dark World, and Bierhoff, the leader of the Wolf Clan, all died together with the devil generals of the alien demons. Although we belonged to the East and the West, we were all humans after all. I immediately joined the battle and killed the last devil general, becoming the only survivor on the battlefield. The Divine Emperor left the crown of thorns to me before he died. The Blood Emperor Cain and the Wolf Emperor Bierhoff each left a drop of primordial blood and begged me to bring it to their descendants. I left these 3 things, but I also saw the power of the alien demons. In such a fierce battle, anyone could lose their life. So I made a divination for myself, and the divination showed that I would not only face a bloody disaster, but also lose my life. I don't care about life and death, but there are some unfinished things that I want to leave to my descendants. So I opened a cave residence here, hoping that one day the descendants of the Shenyuan clan will find this place. Because of the alien demons' rampage, I was afraid that the things I left behind would be taken away by them, so I set up a few tests in the cave residence. Only the descendants of the Shenyuan clan can see my last words. Qin Haodong finally understood why the blood test and the Shenyuan heart skill were first tested when he entered the cave. It turned out that everything was done to guard against the alien demons. The Yellow Emperor Shenyuan continued, "The alien demons are a kind of creatures from a different space. They are cruel and murderous, and their strength is tyrannical. The most important thing is that they are good at changing. The high-level alien demons can change into the appearance of humans at will, so we can't find them. In order to let future generations be able to identify the alien demons, I left a finger of the devil general. No matter what they change into, the aura of the alien demons will not change. With this finger, we can identify the alien demons hiding among the humans in the future. Speaking of this, he pointed to the small wooden box on the stone table and said to Qin Haodong, "Open it." The finger of the devil general is in the wooden box. Qin Haodong walked over and opened the lid of the stone box. There was a hairy finger inside, much thicker than a human's finger. What shocked him was that the aura emitted by the demon general's finger gave him a familiar feeling. Why was this so? Had he encountered the alien demons before? The Yellow Emperor Xianyuan said, "We are about to fight the alien demons to the death. According to my guess, we may be able to annihilate their main force, but there must be some survivors in this world. Keep this finger and find the survivors of the alien demons according to its aura. We must completely destroy them." Qin Haodong asked, "Senior Xianyuan, do you think it will be wrong to find the alien demons according to the aura of the finger?" The Yellow Emperor Xianyuan shook his head and said, "So far, I have seen tens of thousands of alien demons, and their auras are the same. Just like fish, no matter what kind of fish they are, they all have a fishy smell. The same is true for the alien demons. No matter their level, they all have the unique aura of the alien demons. The difference is that the high-level alien demons are good at transformation and can blend in with us." Hearing this, Qin Haodong frowned. In this case, there must be an alien demon among the humans. He had met him before, but he could not remember who he was. The Yellow Emperor Xianyuan continued, "Since you can come here, it means that I have died in the battlefield of the alien demons. I need you to handle the rest. I promised the Emperor God, the Blood Race and the Wolf Race that I would return their relics to their people. This promise has not been fulfilled yet. Now those things are in the wooden box. If there is a chance, help me fulfill my promise. Don't worry, Senior. I will do it for you." Since he could not figure it out, Qin Haodong stopped thinking about it. He put the finger into the storage ring and opened the bigger wooden box. When he opened the lid, he was shocked. The first thing he saw were 3 shining spirit stones of the highest quality. Just now, one spirit stone of the highest quality had raised his cultivation to the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. Now there were 3 of them, which was enough for him to cultivate to the late stage of the nascent soul realm. He held the 3 spirit stones in his palm and was overjoyed. The Yellow Emperor Xianyuan said, "These 3 gems are the same as the spirit beast bag. They were all obtained from the ancient ruins, but I have never figured out what they are used for. If you like them, just take them." "Thank you, Senior." After thanking him, Qin Haodong looked at the other items in the wooden box. Next to the spirit stones was a palm-sized bag, which exuded a strong wave of spiritual qi. It was obviously a treasure at the level of a divine weapon. He took the bag in his hand. He could not tell what material it was made of. On one side, there was a monster with its mouth open, and on the other side, there were 3 big words, "Spirit Beast Bag." The Yellow Emperor Xianyuan said, "I also got this thing in the ancient tomb. It is a rare treasure. You can make the Spirit Beast Bag recognize you as its master by dripping a drop of blood into the monster's mouth." Qin Haodong cut his index finger and dripped a drop of blood into the mouth of the monster in the Spirit Beast Bag. After the blood dripped on the Spirit Beast Bag, it disappeared instantly. Then, with a flash of light, the Spirit Beast Bag disappeared, and then a monster tattoo appeared on his chest. After the treasure recognized him as its master, Qin Haodong established a connection with the Spirit Beast Bag. At the same time, something suddenly appeared in his mind. It was a technique to control spirit beasts. He then explored the Spirit Beast Bag with his spirit and found that it was an independent space. The principle was similar to that of the storage ring. It was the key to another space. The difference was that the storage ring could not store living things, while the space provided by the Spirit Beast Bag could allow spirit beasts to live well. After knowing the magical use of this thing, Qin Haodong turned his head and used a spell on the three-legged golden toad, who had been lying at the door. Under his control, the three-legged golden toad became the size of an egg. After jumping twice in his palm, it went into the spirit beast bag. Good stuff, this is definitely good stuff. Qin Haodong was overjoyed. He got 3 top-grade spirit stones, and now he got a treasure like the spirit beast bag. It was definitely a worthwhile trip. After putting away the treasure, he looked into the wooden box again. Chapter 849. There was a hat in the middle of the box, which looked very similar to the divine crown on the head of the divine emperor. There was also a gem on the top of the head, but this gem was different from the top-grade crystal stone. It contained extremely strong light saint power. Emperor Huang Xianyuan said, "This is the divine crown left by the divine emperor at that time. It's a sacred object of the divine court." Qin Haodong understood that the divine crown must have been lost in the war back then. Later, the divine court copied its shape and made another one. However, the god's crown he had snatched was just a decoration. This was the real god's crown. He looked to the side and saw 2 transparent jade bottles next to the divine crown. There was a red bead in the first jade bottle, and a cyan bead in the second jade bottle. Although the bottles were not opened, he could still feel the powerful energy contained in the 2 beads. Emperor Huang Xianyuan said, "The red one is the blood essence of Cain, the first ancestor of the blood race, and the cyan one is the blood essence of Wolf King Bierhoff. If there's a chance, you can send them back to their people. Don't worry, senior. I'll definitely help you fulfill your last wish. Go. Remember, as the descendant of the Xianyuan family, you must always protect our Huaxia clan." Emperor Huang Xianyuan was very satisfied with Qin Haodong's attitude. He nodded and then disappeared into the air. Qin Haodong was not in a hurry to leave. The most important thing for him now was strength. Since he already had the top-grade spirit stones, the most important thing for him was to improve his cultivation. He sat cross-legged in the middle of the stone room and held all 3 top-grade crystals in his palm. According to his past experience, the later he cultivated, the greater the need for spiritual qi. He hoped that these 3 spirit stones could help him cultivate to the late stage of the nascent soul realm. As time went by, about half a day later, the 3 spirit stones in his hand made a crisp sound and turned into 3 balls of powder at the same time. At the same time, a white light rose from the top of his head and finally turned into an energy body that was the same as Qin Haodong's original body. It was his nascent soul. At this time, the nascent soul was exactly the same size as his original body. It had completely entered the late stage of the nascent soul realm. Qin Haodong moved his mind and took the nascent soul back into his body. He slowly opened his eyes, and a flash of joy flashed across his face. When he reached the late stage of the nascent soul realm, he did not care about the vampire queen, the blood emperor, or the divine emperor. However, he was used to disguise himself as a pig to eat a tiger. He did not show the improvement of his cultivation. Qin Haodong came to the entrance of the cave, and the stone door slowly opened. It was midnight, and a bright moon hung in the sky. As soon as he walked out of the cave, he felt that the atmosphere was not right. He looked up and saw a group of people standing on both sides. On the left was the divine emperor Ridjoff, the divine emperor. And stood the emperor. Emperor to be to the emperor. Beside him stood the graceful Cathaway. At this time, Cathaway was completely different from when she had awakened. After obtaining the recognition of the angel's heart, her body had returned to its previous appearance, but her entire body was filled with a holy aura. Of Emperor. Emperor of Huang Emperor, Emperor to God of the family of the was A to the Emperor. Emperor. King of Emperor, Huang, King was a king god, divine king, he. Beside him stood the graceful Cathaway. At this time, Cathaway was completely different from when she was awakened. After being recognized by the angel's heart, her body had returned to its original appearance, but she was full of a sacred aura. Behind them stood a team of about 100 people. In the middle of the team, Lei Fu was tied up tightly and had a towel stuffed in his mouth. Chen Fugui and Zhang Feiyang, who were relatively close to Qin Haodong, were at the back of the team. Even Alice could not get close to Lei Fu. Obviously, all this was deliberately arranged. On the right side of the cave stood the people of the Dark Parliament led by Sharapova. They also had a hostage in their hands. It was Shi Yumi. Wolf King of the Dark World and another dark wizard, Garincha, were keeping Shi Yumi in custody. Korkina and her daughter, who were close to Qin Haodong, were excluded. After seeing Qin Haodong's ability, Sharapova was obviously very afraid of him. Her sharp claws tightly gripped Shi Yumi's neck, not giving him a chance to rescue her. The two of them stood face to face, but there was no conflict. Obviously, they were waiting for Qin Haodong to come out. After glancing at the crowd, Qin Haodong said with a smile, "Everyone, are you welcoming me? There's no need to make it so grand, is there?" Emperor Ridgecard was the first to speak. "Qin Haodong, as a member of the human clan, how dare you collude with the dark creatures? If you hand over the treasures you got here, I can consider sparing your life. If you want to rob, just say it. Why do you have to find such a lame excuse?" Qin Haodong pointed to Sharapova and the others, who were staring at him covetously. "Look at them. Do you think I'm with them?" Ridgecard's expression froze, and then he said, "It's useless to deny it. Don't think that I didn't recognize that this man is the Golden Fur Wolf King. You have a close relationship with him, which means you are colluding with the Dark Clan. You must be punished by the Divine Lord." Qin Haodong asked, "If you want my treasures, we can negotiate. But first, answer me a question. How did you find this place?" He had come here in secret, and only he and Lei Fu knew. Because of the master-servant contract, Lei Fu would certainly not betray him, so he was curious about how the Divine Court and the Dark Council found this place together. Ridgecard said, "Since you want to know, I will tell you. This is the place where our first emperor disappeared. It has been secretly monitored by the Divine Court. You will naturally be seen by our people when you come here." Hearing this, Qin Haodong suddenly understood. It seemed that the Divine Court had not given up on the missing Divine Crown, so they had sent people to monitor this place. He turned to look at Sharapova again. "How did you find this place?" Sharapova said, "I knew something was wrong with you a long time ago, so I left a mark on the people around you. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, I can still find you." Qin Haodong shook his head secretly. It seemed that he had underestimated this guy, who had lived for thousands of years, and was more cunning than he had imagined. He had also been too careless. If he had known earlier, he would have set up a formation in front of the door, and he would not have been so passive now. He looked at Ridgecard and then at Sharapova, and said with a mocking face, "I didn't expect that you, the Emperor of the Divine Court and the Speaker of the Dark Council, would engage in a business like kidnapping and extortion. Aren't you afraid of losing face?" Ridgecard said, "Lei Fu is a werewolf. We should kill him, let alone catch him. Losing face? It's funny that someone from the dark world would say losing face." Sharapova laughed and looked at Qin Haodong. "I am a member of the Blood Clan. I only care about benefits when I do things. What is there to lose?" Qin Haodong had no choice but to say helplessly, "Tell me, what do you want me to do? But I warn you, don't ask for too high a price. These two people don't have a deep relationship with me. If your request is too much, I won't agree." "Is that so? I see that you and this woman are inseparable, but she said it has nothing to do with you. In that case, there is no need for us to negotiate." As an old monster who had lived for thousands of years, Sharapova was naturally not easy to deal with. She said with a charming smile, "Since you don't care, I will make her a descendant of our blood clan. This woman is white and tender, more beautiful than anyone else. We have countless strong werewolves and dark clan here, as long as you are not afraid of being cuckolded." Qin Haodong sighed secretly. Although nothing had happened between him and Shi Yumi, he could not watch such a beautiful woman die in front of him. He said, "Tell me your conditions first, and I'll see if I can consider it." "My conditions are very simple. One of you must become a descendant of our blood clan. It's either you or her. Now choose." Sharapova valued Qin Haodong's lunar energy gathering formation more, but she also knew that the Dark Clan of the West could not use Eastern magic. Only by making this person her descendant could she solve the problem once and for all. Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "Your request is too much. I can't become a descendant of your blood clan. Let's change it." Sharapova said, "I only have one request, and there is no room for negotiation. They say that you are a love-struck fool, but it seems that the rumors are wrong. In that case, I will make her my descendant." Then she opened her mouth, revealing 2 sharp canines, and was about to bite Shiyumi's white and tender neck. Shiyumi did not struggle or resist. She looked at Qin Haodong with a complicated look in her eyes. Seeing that Sharapova's canines were about to pierce her white and tender skin, Qin Haodong said helplessly, "Wait a minute." Sharapova turned around and said, "What? Have you changed your mind?" Qin Haodong said, "Let her go, and I am willing to accept your embrace." He did not take out the drop of blood Emperor Kane's essence blood. Sharapova was cunning and powerful now. If she absorbed Kane's essence blood, she would be even more uncontrollable in the future. Sharapova came to her senses and said, "I'm glad you made this choice, but it's impossible to let her go first. I know that you Huaxia people are cunning. You have to become my descendant first." Qin Haodong said, "But what if you go back on your word after I become your descendant?" "No, although this little girl is beautiful, she is of no use to our blood clan." Sharapova said, "If you still don't believe me, I can swear to my ancestor Kane that if I break my promise, I will be purified by the holy light of the divine court." Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "I don't think an oath is of any use to a shameless person like you." Sharapova smiled and said, "Maybe, but do you have any other choice now?" "You're right. I really have no other choice," Qin Haodong said helplessly. "Well, come here. I will accept your embrace." "That's right. It's great to be a noble blood clan and have endless life." Sharapova told Wolf to keep an eye on Shiyumi and then walked toward Qin Haodong. Tears flashed in Shiyumi's eyes. She looked at Qin Haodong and cried, "Haodong, just go. Don't worry about me." Although Qin Haodong had always felt that Shiyumi was a little mysterious, he still felt her sincere feelings. He said with a smile, "I don't have the habit of leaving a woman alone." "You're right. That's what a man should do." Sharapova went straight to Qin Haodong without much defense. In her opinion, as long as this Huaxia man did not use any tricks, he was no match for her at all. "Huaxia people, accept my noble embrace." Sharapova's 2 sharp hands grabbed Qin Haodong's shoulders tightly, and then her 2 canine teeth bit his neck. Chapter 850. No. Shiyumi let out a miserable howl. A trace of remorse and anger flashed across her eyes, and then they turned into determination. She was exuding a monstrous killing intent from head to toe, and her momentum was astonishing. With a gentle shake of her arms, the ropes on her body were torn into pieces. Then, with a slight shake of her wrist, a red thread flew out like a snake and wrapped around Wolf's neck. At this moment, all the members of the Dark Parliament were focused on Qin Haodong and Sharapova. No one paid attention to Shiyumi, who seemed as weak as a chicken. When Wolf realized it, it was too late for him to break her neck. The red thread was even sharper than a steel knife. With a swoosh, it cut off his neck, and his huge wolf head flew high. It happened so suddenly that all the members of the dark race were shocked. Simeon, the grand wizard who was guarding Shiyumi with Wolf, wanted to launch a spell, but as soon as he opened his mouth, before he could say a syllable, the red thread drilled into his jaw like a snake, instantly penetrated his head, and flew out from the top of his head. All this happened in just 2 or 3 seconds. In a short moment, Shiyumi killed 2 masters of the Dark Parliament at the Saint Realm. Seeing all this, even the people of the Divine Court were shocked. Only Qin Haodong smiled gently. He had long felt that there was something wrong with this woman, so he took the opportunity to test her. Sure enough, she was an extremely powerful master. Sharapova also noticed the movement behind her, but she didn't care about it at all. As long as she could make Qin Haodong her descendant, the death of a few people was nothing. After Shiyumi killed the 2 guards in a row, the red thread in her hand shot toward Sharapova. Obviously, she wanted to stop her from killing Qin Haodong. But it was a little too late. Sharapova's 2 sharp canine teeth had already pierced Qin Haodong's artery. There was a flash of excitement in the vampire queen's eyes. As long as she controlled this Huaxia man, it was equivalent to controlling the lunar energy gathering formation. At that time, she would definitely become the master of the whole world. Crack. With a crisp sound, the smile on her face instantly froze, and then it turned into incredulity. Just now, her canine teeth did bite Qin Haodong's neck, but the sharp canine teeth not only failed to pierce the skin, but almost broke. After being a vampire for so many years, this was the first time she had encountered such a situation. Looks like your teeth aren't that strong. Qin Haodong smiled. After his nascent soul realm reached the late stage, his greenwood longevity body had been improved again. His skin was harder than steel, which was why he had promised Sharapova. Bastard. Cunning Chinese. Sharapova also knew that she had been tricked. While she was still in shock, Shiyumi's silk thread had already wrapped around her neck. However, the vampire queen's defense was much stronger than Wolf Emperor Worf's. The red thread didn't sever her head. Instead, it sent her flying high into the air. The furious Sharapova let out a scream. She turned around and suddenly grabbed at Shiyumi's face with her 2 front claws. The moment she pulled Sharapova back, Shiyumi couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief when she saw that Qin Haodong was fine. But just as she was about to relax, the vampire queen's 2 sharp claws had already arrived in front of her, and it was too late for her to dodge now. Sharapova's sharp claws were about to crush Shiyumi's head when a golden light flashed and pierced through Sharapova's chest. The powerful penetrating force of the Xian Yuan sword sent her flying backward and directly nailed her to the ground behind her. At this time, Sharapova no longer had the calmness and composure of a vampire queen. Shock and fear flashed across her face. As a vampire queen, she had a defense that ordinary people couldn't even imagine. Not to mention knives and swords, even machine guns couldn't penetrate her skin. But the golden sword in front of her had subverted her previous understanding. It pierced through her body effortlessly. Qin Haodong walked up to her and said with a smile, "I told you not to provoke me, but you didn't listen. How about now? Do you feel good now?" Sharapova wanted to resist, but the Xian Yuan sword put a great pressure on her. She was afraid that the sword would completely cut her in half if she moved. The members of the Dark Parliament behind her were all motionless. None of them stepped forward to help her. After Sharapova, the strongest dark creatures were Korkina and her daughter. Naturally, they wouldn't attack their master. As for the other dark creatures, it was in their nature to be selfish and afraid of the strong. If Sharapova was unscathed, they would naturally charge forward under the pressure of the Empress without any regard for their own safety. But at this moment, Qin Haodong had shown enough strength. Even the vampire queen had been trampled under his feet. These dark creatures didn't have the courage to attack. Seeing that her plan had completely failed, Sharapova said, "Please let me go. I will surrender to you and become your servant." Qin Haodong said, "Your Majesty, I just said that you are not even a human being. Why should I believe you?" Sharapova was completely panicked. She was not so scared even when she had fought against the Emperor in the past. She was extremely regretful. Why did she provoke this Huaxia man? In order to get a chance to survive, she quickly said, "I'm telling the truth. Please believe me. I can swear to Cain, the ancestor of the vampires." If I break the oath, I will be purified by the holy light of the divine court, Qin Haodong said. Since you have this wish, I will fulfill it. As he spoke, a hat suddenly appeared in his hand and he put it on Sharapova's head. It was the divine crown that had been lost by the first emperor. It was originally a holy object of the divine court and had endless holy power. If it was worn by someone of the divine court, it would greatly enhance their magic power. But at this moment, it was strangely put on the head of the vampire queen. After sensing the presence of the dark creature, the radiant stone on top of the divine crown instantly exploded with powerful radiant saint force. Before Sharapova could even scream, the powerful radiant saint light had already purified her completely. The poor president of the Dark Council, the powerful vampire queen, had ended up being purified. The members of the Dark Council were completely shocked. Although the divine court had been shouting all day to purify Sharapova, they had not succeeded for thousands of years. But now, she had been purified by a Huaxia man. All this looked a little ridiculous, but it made them extremely terrified. No one dared to retaliate against Qin Haodong. Their eyes were full of fear. The people of the divine court were the most shocked. The moment the divine crown appeared, Rijkaard's body trembled. He never dreamed that the divine crown, which the divine court had been searching for thousands of years, would appear in the hands of this young Huaxia man. If he could get this treasure back, he would become an invincible existence in the whole Western world. The others were the same. They had all heard that the divine court once had such a holy object, but it had been lost. Usually, they faced the fake hat that the emperor wore. Today, they finally saw the real thing. No one doubted that the hat in Qin Haodong's hand was a fake, because the aura of light was so powerful that it instantly purified the vampire queen. Because of this, both the red-clothed high priest and the holy knight were momentarily dazed from the intense shock. The reason why Qin Haodong had chosen to kill Sharapova with the divine crown was because he wanted this effect. All of this was within his plan. Although Chen Fugui and Zhang Feiyang had become the holy knight and the red-clothed high priest of the divine court, they had always been ostracized by Rijkaard. This time, they had been placed at the end of the line. But for the two guru-level experts, this distance was nothing at all. They had just received Qin Haodong's hint and were waiting for the opportunity to strike. Just as everyone was in a daze, they moved. The two of them were like two hurricanes, instantly rushing past the obstacles in front of them and arriving behind the golden-haired wolf king Leviticus. Zhang Feiyang reached out and grabbed the neck of the red-clothed high priest Balderma, twisting him in two with a crack. At the same time, the holy light cross sword in Chen Fugui's hand pierced the holy knight Suk's chest, directly piercing his heart. By the time the others came to their senses, the two of them had brought Lev to Qin Haodong's side. This sudden turn of events brought Rijkaard back from his shock and greed, but all of this was no longer important to him. What he wanted most now was to take back the divine crown. Qin Haodong, as long as you return the divine crown to me, the grievances between us will be written off. Qin Haodong held the divine crown and said, I was originally entrusted by someone to return this thing to the divine court. Unfortunately, you have disappointed me. You do not deserve this sacred object at all. How dare you rob the sacred object of the divine court? The Lord will punish you. Rijkaard had completely lost his patience. He raised the god's blessing in his hand and a huge light instantly enveloped Qin Haodong. It had to be said that greed made people forget fear. In order to get the divine crown, the emperor had forgotten that Qin Haodong had just killed the vampire queen with one sword strike. If Qin Haodong was still at the early stage of the nascent soul realm, he would still be a little afraid of the emperor. However, he was now at the late stage of the nascent soul realm. An attack at this level was simply vulnerable to him. He raised the Xian Yuan sword in his hand, and a golden light flashed, cutting the light curtain drawn by the god's blessing in half. The piercing sword chi strangled the holy light until nothing was left. A look of astonishment flashed across Rijkaard's face. The god's blessing was already his strongest attack, but it could not cause any harm to the Huaxia man in front of him. He turned back and shouted to Cathaway, Holy Maiden, let's join forces and take back the divine crown. In his opinion, Cathaway, who had obtained the angel's heart, had the same level of holy power as him. Although Qin Haodong's performance was very strong, they would definitely win if they joined forces. To his surprise, Cathaway shook her head and said firmly, "Dr. Qin is my savior. I can't do anything to him." Richcard growled angrily, "Cathaway, have you forgotten your identity? You are the holy maiden of the divine court. You have to sacrifice everything for the divine court. You must kill this heretic and take back the sacred object of our divine court." Cathaway stared at the handsome face in front of her and said affectionately, "I really wanted to be the holy maiden of the divine court and be respected by countless people. But now it's different. Since I met Dr. Qin, I feel that these things are no longer important. I can give up everything for him, even the identity of the holy maiden." Everyone was shocked. The people of the divine court opened their mouths wide. In their minds, they could sacrifice everything for the divine court, but the holy maiden in front of them had subverted their understanding. Even Qin Haodong was quite surprised. He did not expect Cathaway to love him so deeply. Chapter 851. Richcard was shocked and angry. The Holy Virgin, whom he had painstakingly welcomed back, was speaking for someone else in the end. "Cathaway, think about it. If you do this, I will deprive you of your status as the Holy Virgin." Cathaway shook her head indifferently. "I have already said that even if I don't become the Holy Virgin, I will not be Dr. Qin's enemy." Richcard was so angry that his lungs were about to explode, but he knew that now was not the time to attack the Holy Virgin. The most important thing was to get back the divine crown. Since he could not find help, he could only do it himself again. He raised God's favor in his hand and shot an arrow of holy light at Qin Haodong. Qin Haodong shook his head slightly. This guy knew that he was no match for him, but he still wanted to force his hand. In Huaxia's words, this was like a mouse being the cat's mistress. He wanted money more than his life. Qin Haodong raised his hand and pointed forward. The Xian Yuan sword immediately turned into a golden light and shot out, cutting Richcard's arrow of light into nothingness in the blink of an eye. This time, he had no intention of stopping. Since they could not be friends, they would completely become enemies. The Xian Yuan sword's momentum did not diminish. Before Richcard could come back to his senses, he felt a pain in his right wrist, and God's favor fell to the ground along with his elbow. "Since you insist on courting death, then go to hell," Qin Haodong shouted coldly. The Xian Yuan sword flashed again, creating a dazzling splash of blood. Richcard's head flew high. "Bastard, how dare you kill our emperor!" Unlike the members of the Covenant of Darkness, most of these people from the Holy Palace were loyal to the emperor. Seeing that Richcard had been killed, the remaining red-clothed high priests and holy knights rushed forward to fight Qin Haodong. However, the gap between their cultivation and that of Qin Haodong's was too great. Before Lo, Chen Fugue, and the others could come to help, the Xian Yuan sword had already pierced Holy Knight Bergkamp's throat. Alice was a little hesitant. She did not know whether she should attack the Huaxia man in front of her. From the Holy Palace's point of view, she had to avenge the dead emperor. However, from the bottom of her heart, she felt that Qin Haodong was a good friend and should not be her enemy. Before she could make a final decision, the remaining 6 high priests and 2 holy knights were all killed by the Xianyuan sword. For a moment, the Holy Cross sword of light and the Holy Hexagram fell to the ground. "Stop right there. No one is allowed to attack Mr. Qin again." At the critical moment, Cathaway used her identity as the saintess to stop the remaining members of the Church of God's court. She knew that even if these people charged forward, they would only be courting death in the end. Looking at the murderous Qin Haodong, she said, "Qin, can you let these people go?" Qin Haodong took back the Xianyuan sword and said, "They are all my enemies. I will never show mercy to my enemies. Otherwise, it will bring me endless trouble." She really couldn't bear to see these people die under the sword. She said, Qin, please, for the sake of our friendship, let them go, okay? Qin Haodong said, I can let them go, but you have to promise me one thing. Cathaway said, tell me, I'll do anything. Qin Haodong raised the crown of God in his hand and said, put it on and become the new emperor of the Church of God. You are my friend. Only when you rule the Church of God can I feel at ease. Otherwise, I can only kill them. This, a hint of hesitation flashed across Cathaway's face. It was the dream of countless clergymen to sit on the throne of the emperor. But just like the former emperor of Huaxia, once he became the emperor, he was destined to be alone for the rest of his life. No matter whether he was a man or a woman, he couldn't marry for the rest of his life. This was not what Cathaway wanted. For the sake of the nearly 100 clergymen behind her, after hesitating for a moment, Cathaway finally nodded and said, okay, I promise you. Qin Haodong was about to give her the crown of God when a burst of applause suddenly came from the side. Not bad at all. The internal strife of your human race is really wonderful. You've helped us get rid of several powerful opponents so quickly. Everyone turned their heads and saw 4 tall and strong men walking out of the dense forest next to them. The leading man was about 2 meters tall. His skin was dark and he looked ferocious. He was holding a huge steel fork in his hand. The 3 people next to him were similar in appearance and they were holding various weapons in their hands. After seeing these 4 people, Qin Haodong's expression changed. Although these guys looked like human beings, the aura they exuded was exactly the same as that of the Devil General's finger. His pupils shrank and he asked coldly, are you alien demons? According to Emperor Huang Xianyuan, since these people could transform into human forms, they must be high-level members of the alien demons. Judging from their cultivation, they were comparable to the late stage of the human race's saint realm. Ha. I didn't expect you to have such good taste, but I can't let you live. The leading man laughed and said, since you've seen through me, there's no need for me to hide anymore. I'll let you see the power of the alien demons before you die. After saying that, his figure changed and he grew about 1 meter taller. He was tall and strong, his body was covered with black hair and there were 2 huge sharp horns on his head. With the steel fork in his hand, he looked no different from the bull demon king in the journey to the west. The only difference was that he had transformed into a group of invincible cattle lice. The other alien demons did the same and showed their real bodies. Everyone present was shocked. They had never thought that there would be such creatures on Earth, including the members of the Dark Council. They were from the Wolf Clan and the Blood Clan, but they had never seen such a bull-like creature. Qin Haodong, I've let you be so arrogant for so long. Now I'm going to take your head. Shameless monster, how dare you talk to my master like this? Corkina did not know about the existence of the alien demons. Seeing these monsters disrespect her master, she immediately rushed out with a shout. She was extremely fast. Her 2 sharp claws clawed at the leader of the alien demons. How dare you, little bat, be so arrogant in front of me? The alien demon stretched out his palm, which was as big as a palm leaf fan, and slapped Corkina. Corkina's sharp claws viciously clawed at the alien demon's palm. However, the alien demon's defense was simply astonishing. Even with the vampire prince's strength, not only was she unable to break the alien demon's palm, she was swatted away like a fly. This time, everyone present was even more shocked. Both the people of the Divine Court and the Dark Council knew Corkina's strength very well. It could be said that she was the strongest one after Sharapova, the vampire queen. However, she could not even block one attack from the alien demon. Qin Haodong stopped Lei Fu and the others who were about to rush forward. He said to the alien demons in front of him, you look strong. You must be famous among the alien demons. The leader of the Yimo laughed. It was obvious that he did not take the people in front of him seriously. He said without hesitation, it's almost time for us, the Yimo Emperor, to rule the earth. It doesn't matter even if I tell you. Insignificant humans like you can't stop us. He shouted, We are the 4 devil generals under the alien demon emperor. I am the golden leaf general. I am the silver leaf general. The flaming leaf general. The Tui general. Qin Haodong's heart sank slightly. The devil generals of the devil race had already reached the late stage of the Saint Realm. The alien demon emperor would be even more powerful. Moreover, the alien demons who had been hiding behind the scenes had suddenly jumped out, which meant that their plan was likely to be carried out. At this time, the Golden Leaf General shouted, "Qin Haodong, the alien demon emperor thinks that you are a talent. Before we came here, he specially told us to give you a chance. As long as you surrender to the alien demons, we can spare your life." Qin Haodong put on a thoughtful expression and said, "This matter is too important. I have to discuss it with my friends first." "Up to you, but our time is limited. We can only give you 10 minutes. If you don't agree after 10 minutes, we will kill everyone here." The Golden Leaf General obviously relied on his strength and did not take these people seriously at all. "Don't worry, I'll be quick." Qin Haodong calmed the devil generals down and raised his hand to call Cathaway, Corkina, and Lei Fu in front of him. With his current strength, he could completely defeat the 4 devil generals, but it would be difficult to keep all of them here. He needed their help. Cathaway said anxiously, "Dr. Qin, you can't agree to their request no matter what. They are the enemies of the entire human race." Qin Haodong said in a low voice, "I know what to do. From now on, you should listen to my arrangements." He said to Lei Fu and Corkina, "Open your mouths." The 2 of them had a master-servant contract with Qin Haodong, so they did not hesitate at all and immediately opened their mouths. Qin Haodong took out the 2 small jade bottles and flicked them gently. The drop of Cain's primordial blood flew into Corkina's mouth, and the drop of Wolf Emperor Bierhoff's primordial blood flew into Lei Fu's mouth. After doing this, he put the divine crown on Cathaway's head. With his skills, it only took him 1 or 2 seconds to finish all of this. Before the 4 great demon generals could react, the situation had undergone a tremendous change. Cathaway originally had an extremely pure light physique, otherwise she would not have been recognized by the angel's heart. At this time, she put on the divine crown, and a powerful aura of light instantly erupted from her body. This kind of power was 10 times stronger than that of the previous divine Emperor Ridgecard. It was Corkina who changed later. As a vampire, the source of her power was the primordial blood in her body. After obtaining Cain's primordial blood, the blood in her body began to boil, and her momentum suddenly rose. Her whole body was shining with a blood-red light. Lei Fu swallowed the drop of Wolf Emperor Bierhoff's primordial blood. His eyes turned blood-red, and he howled at the sky. In an instant, he completed the werewolf's transformation. What was different from before was that the wolf hair on his head had all turned golden, and he was wearing a yellow crown, which was the special symbol of the Wolf Emperor. Feeling the powerful aura emanating from the 3 people, Chen Fugue cried in surprise, Are they masters at the divine realm?" Ever since he had stepped into the supreme power realm, he had a deeper understanding of Huaxia's martial arts. He knew that the Saint Realm was not the peak of martial arts. Legend had it that there were masters at the divine realm above the Saint Realm. The 4 devil generals, who had been standing to the side with arrogant expressions, suddenly changed their expressions when they felt the aura of the 3 people. They knew that they had been tricked. "Qin Haodong, go to hell." The 4 devil generals immediately waved the weapons in their hands and charged over. Without waiting for Qin Haodong to speak, Cathaway, Corkina, and Lei Fu all went up to block 1 devil general each. Qin Haodong held the Xian Yuan sword in his hand and faced the Golden Leaf General, the leader of the 4 devil generals. "Despicable human, go to hell." The Golden Leaf General shook the steel fork in his hand and stabbed it fiercely at Qin Haodong's chest. Updated in June. From September last year until now, the book Daddy Doctor has more than 2.8 million words. The original outline and detailed outline have been used up. Because of the mature idea and the detailed outline, the speed of writing was relatively fast, but it became more and more difficult towards the end. In order to ensure that the story is wonderful, I can only write a little slower. In June, I guarantee 2 chapters a day. Please forgive me. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.